The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
From our fan studios secured by DFWsecurity.com, it's time for the Get Right on 105.3 The Fan.
Yes, indeed, it is the Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. I'm Reginald Atatula. That is the voice of the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
We got Ross Lubinsky on the ones and twos, and you rocking with us on this Victory Monday, National Championship Monday. Man, it's going to be a fun one. We got you till 11 p.m. right here on your home of the Cowboys and World Series champion Texas Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. CA, how you living?
Living large, having a good time. It's a new year, and like you said, it's Victory Monday. Who ain't happy unless your team lost?
Yeah, and you can't say that around these parts if you're a Cowboys fan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was about to jump into it. You might be feeling a little bit like that if you're a Washington fan. Huskies, that is, they're starting to settle into this game, but Michigan has a 17-3 lead down in Houston in the college football playoff national championship game.
Well, shout out to Moody DeMare and Dutch Oven, Derrick Holland. He's down there. Moody DeMare, you know he's locked and loaded. He's one of our favorite Tolos.
Absolutely.
And he's on the ones and twos in his garage getting lit.
Yeah, there's a lot of Go Blue that are excited right now, happy for this game. And so we'll keep you up to date with what's happening there. Also, look, man, that's a big national game, but we want to keep it local. It's live and local programming, the likes that you don't necessarily see this time of night unless you're listening to 105 through The Fan. And so your Stars are about to drop the puck on the second period.
That's another good thing.
Up in Minnesota. And a good thing about that is that your Stars lead 1-0.
Yes, sir.
There, Rope Hintz with a goal in that one. And my bad to the young man who was in net for the Stars because
his name is Matthew Murray.
There we go, Murray. I done seen his name about 4 times.
1 year.
Just today. And I know who he is, but his name always escapes me because he's got one of those relatively generic names, Matt Murray.
I didn't know who he was. I'm like, where's Otter? That's all I was thinking was, where's Otter?
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm still surprised Otter isn't back as of yet. But, a lot of
lower body.
Man, yeah, he's still dealing with that. And a lot of games played by Wedgwood and a lot of goals given up over the last so often.
Weary.
Murray thus far looking pretty good, and we'll keep you up to date with what's happening there. But, of course, like I mentioned, Victory Monday for your Dallas Cowboys. They complete the 18-game schedule or the 18-week schedule of the NFL, 17-game schedule, 12-5 for the third season in a row. Division champions, NFC East champions, and they get a big-time win it is a big-time win, but also it's against the lowly Commandos 35-10. And, of course, as we do on a Victory Monday, CA, who hooped in this contest?
Let's just go ahead and give props to the running game because everybody was concerned, well, at least get it running. The thing about it is you knew you're going to probably beat Washington, but we wanted to see something from the running game. Tony Pollard, 17 carries, 70 yards, 50 in the first half, touchdown. The man was averaging 4.1 yards a carry. But on top of all that, Rico Dowdle, 9 carries, 46 yards, his longest run, 20 yards. It's like, wait a minute. You might have some complimentary football going into the playoffs. So the running game hooped.
Yeah, it was good to see it. Oh, look, man, the way that the running game is going to be somewhat necessary in the postseason, we've discussed up and down. And one of the things I guess this will lead us give us the opportunity to talk about is how much can you take from a game against the lowly 4-12 at the point of coming into this game, Washington Commanders, especially one that was so hurt. Do you feel like this is some level of, precursor or, omen for the ways in which the running game can go in this postseason for these Cowboys, or do you just think this is a bad team that you're playing against and it was nice to see them put up yards?
You got to just say, take it what you can get.
Okay.
Their football team, we know they were trying to pack it up by the second half, but at the same time, the schedule showed you who you had to beat, and at first it looked kind of dicey, and then the final score is what everybody thought. I predicted before the game 35-10. It was 38-10. And again,
no, it's 35-10. You got it.
It's 38.
Was it 38?
38-10.
Oh, you're right.
They got that last
you're
field
right.
goal
I'm
in there,
bugging.
but it's 35-10 for a while. All I got to say is this. You can't complain about that. If you're a Cowboys fan, you better be glad they stomped them. You'd have some issues if you say, wait a minute, they were so raggedy and they won by 1 point. You can say, well, they won by 1 point. All they needed to do was win by 1 point. They did what they had to do. There's other guys who hooped, and we're going to get them to you and give them their flowers as well.
Yeah, and I think in that regard, before we move away from the running game, sometimes it's easy to fall into the trap of talking about the running game as if it is just the running backs. Mm-hmm. And the running game is heavily dependent upon your offensive line. And you did not have all of your starters in this game. TJ Bass played a lot in this game, and he played very well. I was very proud of his play. I think your offensive line all the way around did really well, and I think that they deserve some credit, especially seeing the ways in which there was a little bit of depth, and they played fairly well. Again, in this situation where I know Washington is not giving you something impressive to play against, but those boys looked good, and I think that matters. That's good, and it gives me a little bit of, solace knowing that if you need to, especially considering Tyler Smith, that plantar fascia is not going to be reconnected immediately, right? And so if you have to call upon maybe some of your depth, obviously it's not what you want. However, it's not going to be catastrophic, I don't think.
This is where the depth actually showed up. Zach Martin woke up sick as a dog. He was expected to play, and so for them to know it, to find out just before they left the hotel, wait a minute, Zach ain't even going to be there. He wasn't even at the stadium. And so for them to step up and for them to have, nice protection for Dak Prescott, a nice opening up some holes for the running game, that looked good. The only thing they didn't look good on was they blocked the field goal for stopping the streak of Butter. Brandon Aubrey had that nice streak. He had never missed a field goal. First field goal he attempted, dude came right up the middle, right between the center and the left guard spot. I mean, the right guard spot.
Yeah, and we'll get an opportunity to do our Victory Monday nitpick. The Week 18 ain't no different.
Right.
We will still nitpick the win.
Just concern.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, let's concern from the whole season.
We'll do that. We'll do that at 9 o'clock here on 105 through the Fan. But we continue talking about who hooped. Look, how do you want to play this? Do we want to play this in the ways where we keep it simple and talk about the ones that are fairly obvious because they deserve it, or do we want to get nitty gritty? Because one of the fairly obvious ones is CeeDee Lamb, and for the reason why I bring that up also because 13 receptions, 98 yards, 13 receptions on 13 targets, and it just seems so evident, right? The distribution of targets and all those things made it very evident that they have leaned entirely into the idea that CeeDee Lamb is an elite wide receiver and should be treated as such, right? And almost in the Jerry Rice, Randy Moss thought of he down there somewhere, get the ball to him. You can see the ways in which Dak Prescott is looking for his guy. In fact, maybe you could say the interception was because he was staring down CeeDee because he wanted to go there. The defensive lineman gets his hand up and pops it in the air. But I like that. I like that they have leaned into it as an offense or maybe just as a quarterback in Dak Prescott, that is your best player. He needs the damn football.
CeeDee Lamb had 98 yards and 2 touchdowns on those 13 targets and receptions. Here's the deal about it. This man went somewhere no other Cowboy wide receiver has ever gone. He led the league in receptions. No Cowboy player, you can name every great wide receiver they've ever had. Not one of them has ever led the NFL in receptions. CeeDee Lamb did that. And here's what's so wild about it. Remember, he didn't get cooking until after the bye, after they lost to the 49ers, and he had to tell them, give me the damn ball. He had to go TO. Remember that? People forget.
Yeah.
So imagine.
Respectfully.
He did it, in his own style, but at the same time, he had to tell them, look, give me the ball. I'm a dominant X. Imagine had they targeted him September and October, the first half of October. Just imagine what he had done. And here's what's so wild about it as well. They got some good receivers on this team as well.
Yeah.
But every defensive coordinator knew you got to stop CeeDee Lamb. They couldn't do it.
Not for the last 9 weeks either, becoming the first wide receiver in over a decade since 2012 to score in 9 consecutive games, the first receiver to do so since A.J. Brown in 2012.
I'm going to tell you something. Michael Irvin said CeeDee could wind up being the greatest 88 of all time.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
Absolutely. And it's why even in a game like where he hooped, did that feel like CeeDee Lamb at the height of his powers?
No.
And I think
only
that's
98 yards. His longest reception was 15 yards.
Yeah, that's the thing that feels impressive to me. This felt somewhat, a ho-hum feels like a little bit too much of a downgrade, but it felt relatively ho-hum, and it's 98 yards, and it's a score, and it's
2 scores.
It's hooping. Oh, yes, you're right. My bad. No disrespect intended to the man, Darian Lamb. As we continue on, who hooped? Look, man, Dak Prescott.
Well,
31-36 of 36, 279 yards, 4 touchdowns, and of course the aforementioned interception. A passer rating of 124.4. Like, are we to the point where people are going to simply appreciate what he? Because I mean,
no, they won't. They'll say, "Where's the ring?" That's
Sure.
what they will always say. I don't care what he does until he wins the Super Bowl. And guess what they're going to do when he wins the Super Bowl? They're going to say, "Oh, anybody could win the Super Bowl if Micah Parsons on the defense." I'm serious.
Yeah.
They will never straight up give him his props. They didn't do it for Troy Aikman while he was playing. They waited till he was retired. They were like, "How many first-team All-Pros did he make? How many touchdown passes did he have?" Because ironically, Michael Irvin would always catch the ball and get knocked out of bounds, get tackled on the 1-yard line, and Emmett would get all the touchdowns. Troy Aikman was extremely accurate. And then guess what they would even say about Troy? Well, he doesn't have any comfort behind victories like Roger Staubach. It will not happen until he gets a Super Bowl ring, and even then there will be the naysayers. Why? Because he plays for the Cowboys. It's just a fact.
Yeah, man, Dak Prescott's been like very good in the way that he does this. In fact, when you talk about total EPA over the entire, like the estimated points added by a quarterback or by a player in the league over the entirety of the season, Dak Prescott led 100 plus 178. Second was Brock Purdy at plus 177. We talk about the points that are added. Like Dak Prescott, even in the situation where if you could talk about him throwing off scramble drill all year, he led the league at plus 46. Yep. Josh Allen was plus 31 when we talk about that. And that's courtesy Cowboy Stats and Graphics on Twitter. I appreciate that, man.
He's the only quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys to lead the team in touchdowns. And he had 30, I think he had 34 passing, and he wound up with like 37 overall. Bottom line is
first quarterback since Roger.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Roger shared it. I'm talking about solo by himself.
There you go.
And then Dak Prescott's the only quarterback in it. I think the last one was some Sammy Baugh or somebody way back in the day to lead the league in interceptions one year and follow it by leading the league in touchdowns. And yet, he ain't going to get the MVP. It's going to be Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson had a nice, solid season. But guess what? Dak Prescott actually performed him if you look strictly by the numbers.
Yeah, and I think that's where we acknowledge that the narrative portion of this award, and it does sting for Dak Prescott because it feels like the narrative rarely leans in his direction.
He would have shut up the naysayers. Naysayer, please.
Yep.
He would have shut up the naysayers had they beaten Buffalo. Or had they beaten Buffalo and Miami, there would have been nothing you could say to the man. But because those games were lost, they're up. Well, Dak ain't done nothing.
Yeah, and it's one.
This is objective because they vote on it. You know,
Yeah.
It'd be different if it was a computer printout. You know what I mean? But you can't do it by it's people who vote.
Right. I also think that this is going to be, this is the downside of having the framework that the regular season doesn't matter for this team. It's all about postseason success. And they're reaching the point where now is the time to prove that. As we continue to talk about who hooped in his 38-10 victory for your Dallas Cowboys, I want to give some level of praise to the defense because we done talked about the offense all the way across. Can I give a shout out to Donovan Wilson?
Well,
who apparently is coming for me directly with his play, letting me know that he's like, hey, I'm a safety in the real sense of the word. Like,
you doubted that?
Ball hawking is what I can do.
Are you saying that you're going to lay on your sword and say you give this man some props and you've been doubting him?
Look, a mea culpa is necessary.
I
look.
You opened your eyes?
Yes. I have gained more information, and I'm willing to revise the way that I look at things.
That's a smart man. Because a lot of people like to double down because they don't want to admit that they've got new information.
I got to admit, Donovan Wilson has been very good when it comes to the ball, playing the ball in the air towards the end of this season. He's always been a physical safety that prides himself on doing it, and you can see it in the way that he plays.
Yeah, he led the team in tackles last year. That's how physical he's been.
Absolutely. Another interception for him in this game. And that has been impressive and really comforting to me because I know the safety play towards the middle of the season, felt like it dipped.
Yeah, it did. And Daron cursed too because he had the green light, but guess what? His back was killing him, and he wasn't playing worth a damn in November.
And so you have an interception there, and obviously an interception for Daron Bland.
Well, that's 9 now.
And look, man, got to salute that young man for playing incredibly well and continuing to get his hands on the football.
Let me tell you something. He's had 14 over his career. 14. The man's only been in the league 2 years. This is his second season. Last year, he didn't play until Jordan Lewis got hurt.
Yeah.
So think about this. Second half of the season, he got, I think, 5 picks last year, and then he wound up with 9 this year, 14 overall. NFL historical leader with pick sixes. He owns Sam Howell, the quarterback for Washington, because he got him in Thanksgiving, and he got him again yesterday.
Yeah. And while we're talking about secondary players in this defense, I also want to give a shout-out to Jordan Lewis, a man who is easy to get, to be underappreciated. That's the one. Get overlooked. You had the right word, CA. And there's been times over the course of his tenure here where he's been more than overlooked, maybe denigrated in some ways.
Yeah.
And you can see the ways in which when you need physicality, he is willing to be physical, even at his relatively diminutive size, right? You see him in the ways in which he shows up in the passing coverage. Man, big ups, 469, big ups to Jordan Lewis, the Michigan man, who showed up also in this game against the Washington Commandos.
Speaking of defense, let's go ahead and give him his flowers. Micah only had 14 sacks for the season.
About time, man.
He had 13 his rookie year, 13 and a half last season.
He was like, I need 13, to get more.
Got to get that 14. But I'm not going to give him props just for the 14. How about he led the NFL in pressures? And this is while leading the NFL and getting held.
So that's the unofficial stat.
Unofficial stat, but we all know. We've seen the tape.
Right.
As he tells everybody, look at the tape.
Yep.
And they will have some meetings in the offseason with the committees to say, okay, what can we do to maximize the game watching pleasure for the fans? All I got to say is, Micah, you did your thing. You might not get Defensive Player of the Year, but you led the league in pressures.
Yeah, man. Those are just some of the many Cowboys who hooped against the Washington Commandos. Week 18, your Cowboys now 12-5, NFC East champions, and set to play against the Green Bay Packers this coming Sunday in what the NFL is calling Super Wild Card Weekend. I don't know if I'm going to go with them on their particular branding of this. Y'all just added more words. It's Wild Card Weekend. Like, what makes it so super? Right? Like, what makes it so super? It's just Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, that's the guy who anointed that. Let's say, dude, why is it super?
Why is it super? I mean,
it's not the Super Bowl.
No, it is not. I mean, it begins the path towards the Super Bowl. From the 2 and 4, they are using their mathematics skills or their logic and reasoning skills, where if Michael Parsons got 13 in his first sacks in his first year, 13 and a half in his second year,
14 and a half next year.
There you go, 14 and a half next year.
That.
There you go.
Y'all forgetting his age. He's going to get older and older and older.
That's not the trend, CA.
But you're right. And here's the other part about that trend. It's going to help him. When they change them rules up, he ain't going to be held as much neither.
I mean, and this is the thing. He's so fast, I wonder what the slowdown actually looks like, right? Because there's some things, it's like, all right, you slow down relative to you. You still fast compared to me.
The sacks will go up.
And look, so
he won't get held.
Michael Parsons has been incredible. And the one thing I got to say, and I'm sure the Joneses are not upset to hear this, go ahead and get that checkbook ready.
That's right.
For him
and CeeDee.
For CeeDee.
Ooh, and Dak, his extension.
Get that checkbook ready.
Yeah.
It's the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan, on your home of the NFC East champion Dallas Cowboys. It's the Get Right here. I already said that part. Coming up next, let's get into what is termed Black Monday in the NFL, what's been happening around the league, and also not a Black Monday for your Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. But what could make it a Black Monday at some given time? Does he have security? We discuss it next on The Fan.
We have you covered, Stars fans, with exclusive content from 2 times.
Something New sales event. Truly one of the best times to get your brand new ride from owner Stephen Gilchrist and his fantastic team. Tell them you're Tolo. Start the process online right now, PlatinumCDRJTexas.com, and then drive a little further to save a lot more at Platinum Chrysler Dodge Ram Jeep.
The NFL playoffs live on Odyssey. Westwood One brings you all the action from Wild Card Weekend, streaming live on the free Odyssey app.
And off McCaffrey runs left, powers into the end zone, touchdown 49ers.
The excitement is contagious as teams start their journey towards the big game.
End zone, right side, it is caught, touchdown, Puka Nacua.
Listen to every game live for Westwood One. Get in the game and download the free Odyssey app today. AUDACY.
It's a Cowboys Monday, brought to you by Twin Peaks and K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing on 105.3 The Fan.
And it's back to The Fan, and this upcoming segment is brought to you by Frankel & Frankel. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen. Frankel & Frankel are the go-to attorneys for car and truck wrecks in DFW. If you or a loved one has been in an accident, contact Frankel & Frankel for a free consultation at truckwreck.com or call 214 or 817-333-3333.
So get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Datatula alongside the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rocking with us on this Monday, this Victory Monday in the Metroplex. Also around the NFL, it's Black Monday. And so we'll talk a little bit about the coaching carousel and what that looks like in the National
Are you saying
Football
that
League.
on Black Monday, coaches are on for sale? There's a special and lines are out the door and people are fighting to try to be a coach?
That'd be an interesting way of looking at it. I imagine there's some people, maybe like
they've been hanging outside these stores because it's Black Monday.
Yeah, some of these coaches need to be hanging out some stores.
Oh, my bad, Black Friday, my bad.
Now look, there's one particular get that I imagine there's a couple of teams are looking at like a big piece of chicken. Mm-hmm. One of them happens to be in an NRG Stadium right now. Mm-hmm. Another one happened to be in DC. This past or Landover, Maryland, yesterday. We'll talk all about that as we continue in this segment. Coming up in about, I don't know, my math is failing me, but in probably 15 minutes, we'll go around the NFL, some of the other things that happened on Week 18. But right now, National Championship game, they are at halftime. That score is 17-10 in favor of the Michigan Wolverines. Been an interesting one thus far. We'll talk more about that later in the show. And your Dallas Stars, about well into the second period, I should say, still lead 1-0. Matt Murray doing a solid job in net for
young legs,
your
man.
Stars.
Fresh young legs.
There you go.
Right out the minors.
Absolutely. Now in the NFL, like I mentioned, Black Monday. You got me there. Almost said Black Friday, but Black Monday.
Don't worry, Cyber Monday is coming too.
Referred to as such because the day after the final day game of the season, you expect that many teams, if they are not happy with the performance of their team, would then jettison their head coach. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, but we want to move in a different direction. We'll release you to your destiny, whatever other framework you want to use, mutually agreed of parting ways, those things of that nature. There were already 3 teams that during the course of the season that have been fired, or coaches that have been fired from teams. The Raiders had fired Josh McDaniels well early into this thing.
They should have never hired him.
Agree. He's already
can't stand him. He was never a coach to me.
Well, he's already proved himself in a couple of situations to not necessarily be the best option. And this is another one of those instances.
Ask the people in Denver the first time.
There's Denver. There's the time where he was going to take that Titans job and was like, actually, no, thank you. Or Colts, rather. Colts job. And
got the whole staff, and they said, never mind, I'm going to stay with the New England Patriots. And then all of them were like, I mean, even Matt Eberflus, the Cowboys linebackers coach,
yep,
he was going to be the defensive coordinator for Colts.
That's right.
And he wound up, fortunately, they kept him.
Yep.
But Josh McDaniel, I just don't even get me started, man.
Carolina Panthers got rid of Frank Reich in the midst of his first season.
Who wants to work for David Tepper? This is 2 years in a row for him now.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a big question to be answered by that organization. And the tough thing about it is he's got money to throw at coaches, but I imagine there's a lot of coaches like Ben Johnson of the Lions offensive coordinator who's looked up and be like, that's not good money, right? Not all money is good money, and that David Tepper money does not look like good money. And so that's going to be interesting.
In other words, even any kind of assistant coach, you say, oh, they want to, just not just him, but those who say, well, Dan Quinn. No, Dan Quinn ain't running off to North Carolina.
No, I imagine he's got significantly better options available to him.
Thank you.
Than to go into a place where, and also, like, I think Dan Quinn, who has already been a head coach before, remember, understands the value of having support in your organization and the right framework and structure of the organization, which I imagine he's gotten some level of feel for, being here in the ways in which he's been supported, especially on draft night and acquiring talent. They've made sure to give him talent. You see the ways in which that goes, man. You got to be real careful about who you hitch your wagon to.
Exactly. He ain't thirsty like that.
So the Raiders, Panthers, Chargers had already fired Brandon Staley as well. Couple more coaches hit the road, I guess. Atlanta Falcons get rid of Arthur Smith after that game against in a division rivalry that is a hated rivalry between them and the Saints, and they got whooped.
Do you realize that's 3 years in a row that Arthur Smith was 7-10 with Atlanta? 3 years in a row.
Yeah, that's not going to be it, especially if you're losing to the Saints in that path. Not only that, but the ways in which they got young talent, right? You talk about Drake London, you talk about Kyle Pitts, and then of course Bijan Robinson, and the ways in which all those guys were relatively managed from an offensive head coach. You can't abide by that. So he's gone. And then of course the guy that you saw just yesterday against your Dallas Cowboys, Ron Rivera. Basically, he was there early.
He knew.
He was there early in his job to be the face, a good face on a bad organization. And since that organization has kind of turned over, now you can just look at the football of Ron Rivera, and that hasn't been good for a very long time. And so, he is gone. So those are the 5 openings that exist right now. It's kind of interesting. You only had 2 actual firings when it comes to head coaches over this on this Black Monday. How did you view that? Did you think that there would be more? Or, I mean, obviously there's still opportunity for some other ones to open up.
We're still waiting to see what Belichick does. That's what people are watching. You know, they're not going to quote-unquote fire him. They're going to have to figure out to surgically word it the correct way if he were to depart, and you're wondering where he may go, and then the dominoes fall into place. But there's always some assistant coaches making some moves as well, and sometimes coaches throw their assistants under the bus to keep their jobs. I'm going to say this right now. The word leaking out right now is Wink Martindale is leaving the Giants.
Well, he's actually resigned.
Yeah, he's resigned.
From the Giants.
It's official. But a lot of people don't know that, so I'm saying it now.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's also word that Chucky's returning to the league. We're talking about John Gruden, but not as a head coach, but being a part of that Saints staff. That's what they're talking about.
Which is, I'm so surprised that Dennis Allen has managed to hang on to that job.
And again, we're talking about the assistant coaches and coordinators and whatnot. There was reports all weekend. David Moore was leading the charge, a longtime beat writer with the Morning News. That's my guy. He wrote this story about, DQ ain't going to stay here forever. There's going to be the perfect situation at some point in time that he's going to like. And then I've been calling it the Easter egg, because you know what the Easter egg is, right? Little hint. At the end of that article, he had the nerve. I'm talking about my boy. He's what he do. He said, Dan Quinn and his wife, they do spend the offseason in Hawaii. And I only bring this up because Tolo mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. You know how people say, well, they saw so-and-so's wife looking at houses, and that's how you know that's where they headed. This Tolo texted, yes, he and his wife live in Hawaii, and that's closer to L.A. than it is to DFW. And you know what openings in L.A.? Chargers.
That's a very long. That's such a long flight for us to be like, well, it's close. So thus, but however, I mean, Dan Quinn has been a viable head coaching candidate for all of the years that he's been here.
And then they throw in he's worked with Kellen Moore before. And they can leave Kellen in place and let him fix that defense, and great stadium, and nobody's worried about the Chargers like any other. There's like 5 fans in L.A. who like the Chargers. Chargers of San Diego. Come on.
Now, you brought this up, so we might as well live in it for a little bit. Obviously, Dan Quinn there's been a couple of off seasons where I think the general consensus was he probably goes on to operate his own, situation, and he has managed to be retained. Jerry Jones prides himself on how I don't know if he has said explicitly, but basically put money on the table and said, kept him here.
Out at Denver, when they hired Nathaniel Hackett,
it
was between Quinn and Hackett, and they went with Hackett. And that because Jerry said, you don't want to go up there. Dan, come on, here.
And so with that being the case, do you feel like that's something that can happen again? Or do you feel like this is finally the year where Dan Quinn takes his opportunity and goes and helms another organization or operation as a head coach again?
It's not a this or that, or it's not a yes or a no.
Okay.
It's a little bit more complicated. Number one, it depends on how far they go. But more importantly, we saw the last month of December in those 3 games in December, we're talking about Buffalo, Miami, and Detroit, Dan Quinn's defense, all they had to do was hold it down, and they had game-winning drives, or Detroit thought they had a game-winning drive. At the end of the game, they didn't save the lead. So, in other words, if that were to rear its ugly head, let's say against the 49ers in the championship game, and it was very painful, Jerry might say, see you later. It's been real. Because as good as you are and we love you, damn it, the trend is there. You cannot hold it down when the offense gave you a lead with 2 minutes left to play. And so that might be walk away. So in other words, it's more complicated than, well, he was good and the defense looked great and all that, but, I don't want to pay him head coach money no more. It's the way it goes down. And that also applies to Mike McCarthy, because his name was thrown out around a lot in the last week. I thought that was unreal. They was throwing his name out.
Well, that's the interesting thing is looking at Mike Sando's, put together of basically the coaching carousel at The Athletic, and I mentioned the ones that are open. The one that's clearly likely to open, as you mentioned, was the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick, it just feels like that thing is ridden out its course over a long time, mind you, but it feels like that they might just need to change. Oddly enough, the teams looking safe are the Bears and the Saints, and the Bears are a very interesting one that we can get into in depth another time.
They love him now that Josh Fields has found himself. I'm talking about Eberflus is safe. That's what everybody's saying in Chicago.
Yeah, but Luke Getsy as offensive coordinator definitely needs to make a move. Now, the potential surprise in here is the Dallas Cowboys, and I think that's interesting because I think you can make a reasonable case on either side of this when you talk about this is a team that under Mike McCarthy obviously had the first season that was not good with Mike Nolan as defensive coordinator and all that. But since then,
COVID year,
12-5,
12-5,
12-5,
and
12-5.
Never been done before with the Cowboys. Jimmy had some outstanding teams, but one year they won 11 games. I'm talking about Jimmy's last 3 years, and 2 of those were Super Bowl years. With that being said, Mike McCarthy, believe it or not, there's no team in the league right now, the last 3 years, has won 12 games in a row 3 times. Even the Chiefs, the closest were the Chiefs. I think they had 11 wins 1 year, but that was it. That's it. So but that's regular season.
Exactly.
But the bar is higher in Dallas. The expectation, as Jerry put it, is the pedigree is the Super Bowl.
Sure.
The birthright is the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Even though the 21st century has not been kind.
Yeah, and look, you can absolutely maybe make the case that the Cowboys, the MO of the Cowboys has been good seasons akin to 12-5, but not getting it done when it matters. And so you could then turn that around and say, well, you have been given a certain amount of time, and if this is not going to be a thing that it feels like over, a relatively short period, but having a few chances at it that you're not going to be able to climb the mountaintop, as Jerry says, he don't got time to have a bad time.
Well, this last game yesterday, Jerry said he was vague, but he wasn't vague negatively. He was vague like, well, we have to see how the playoffs play out.
Yeah.
Because that's the right answer. It really and truly is, because the last thing you want to do is, oh, yeah, Mike's going to be here, and then they fall flat on their face. Let's say not even the 49ers. Let's say for some reason Green Bay comes in here and does something crazy, and the Cowboys look crazy. Look, put it like this. Maybe they look as bad as they did against Washington in the last regular season game a year ago. In other words, let it play out. It's hard for fans to do that. Yeah. Ranger fans had to learn that. You got to let it play out.
Yeah, letting it play out, I hear you, but I think also the odd thing about that is that then you are weighing individual games more than these big sample size of putting together a good team.
So what would you do? You going to let it play out, or are you going to fire him? I'm asking you now.
Well, it's not really a decision to make it.
Well, what's the choice? Do you let it play out, or do you say he's fired?
No, I think you obviously have to let it play out, but I think that the logic. Well, I'm getting there, CA. I think the logic that it's funny to think about the logic of these individual games that we've made more important than the big sample size of creating a team that is capable of doing that. And like the idea being, if you have a team that's good enough, after enough time, eventually they will break through. But I think that football is such a small sample size sport that you can't operate on the logic of sample sizes because you don't have that much time to work out. Okay, well, if you're good enough,
let alone injuries,
and
you never know.
And so you almost have to operate just a little bit illogical. And I wonder if if they're maybe not able to get past the Packers, or if they lose in the divisional round again, if Jerry Jones ultimately says sayonara.
Well, again, it's the way it plays out, and that's why you have to let it play out, because even the 49ers did not go to the Super Bowl last year. Why? How about Brock Purdy got hurt in the playoffs? So certain things can happen that you just can't necessarily say what's the coach's fault. So you have to let it play out, and that's what Jerry said. We're just going to let it play out. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
He can't say, well, he better get to the NFC Championship game like the fans want it.
I mean, all eyes are on Dallas and all eyes are on Mike McCarthy for various reasons. And it starts on Sunday afternoon against the Green Bay Packers, 3:25. Your Dallas Cowboys with an opportunity to start this thing off, right? This is probably the best position that they've been in a few years.
Not a few. How about this century where they're the number 2 seed and all they have to do is keep winning? They have at least 2 playoff games on. If they continue to win, wow. They have never had this great of an opportunity. So Mike McCarthy, knock on wood, you don't have the injuries, and it plays out the way you want it to, and you keep your job.
Yeah, coaching for your job in a weird way. 12-5, but second in the NFC East Division champions, and coaching for your job. It's the life of being a Cowboys coach.
Coaches are hired to be fired.
That's right. And we saw some of that. There's still some of it coming, and we are going to be waiting with bated breath if that same thing is going to befall your head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy. So get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, let's go around the NFL, talk about some of the other things that happened on Week 18. I guess they called it the season finale. We'll do that next on The Fan.
Coming up on the next KNC Masterpiece, a special championship edition of Any Given Saturday.
5-star review from Kelly, who said, I let go of more than 100 pounds a year ago, still keeping it off with the help of maintenance. Thank you very much, Soda. This can be the new year where you achieve and maintain a new you by hitting your optimal weight. And that journey begins at sodaweightloss.com. That's Soda. Wait for it. State of the art.
Tolos, it's been a heck of a Rangers ride, and the celebration will continue at Globe Life Field for the World Series edition of the Rangers 2024 Awards Dinner presented by Coca-Cola. It's Friday evening, January 26th. Awards will be given out to Corey Seager, Josh Young, Leody Taveras, Nathaniel Lowe, Dane Dunning, and Gold Gloves presented to Lowe, Jonah Hyman, and Adolis Garcia. You can be a part of this special evening by purchasing a table or an individual ticket at Rangers.com/awards dinner.
And it's back to the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Classic Chevrolet. Why do so many Texans love Classic Chevrolet and Grapevine? They've got the goods. More new Silverados than anyone else. Go see them today or visit ClassicChevrolet.com. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Find new roads, relax, and enjoy the difference.
So Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Datatula here with you alongside the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks for rocking with us here on this Monday night in the Metroplex. Ross Lebinsky's on 1s and 2s as well. Thank you, sir. Coming up in about 12 minutes, we will get into our Victory Monday nitpick. Talk about some of the things that maybe we didn't like in the game against Washington, and maybe about the entire course of the season, 18 games or 18 weeks of the regular season. But right now, I should give you an update. The Stars in the second intermission of their game at the Minnesota Wild. A little bit of a return home in a way for that franchise, and they lead 1-0 over the Minnesota Wild. Really need this one to kind of stem the bleeding, first of all, of losses and, get back in winning ways, but also, in a way, stem some of the goal allowances. They've given up 4 plus goals many times, way too many times this season. And so currently, Wild have not scored, and that's exactly what it feels like they need right now.
And they got Matthew Murray, straight from the minors, in goal. He's already got 21 saves.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. Oh, man, this Stars team needs it, especially with Almiro as well as a defenseman. So, also, the national championship game still going in Houston.
Yes, sir.
Michigan adds another field goal on top, 20-10. Michael Penix, by the way, got stepped on as he was trying to get a pass off, maybe his first pass off in the third quarter, and so he throws an interception. Kind of crazy to see, and that allows Michigan to go up 10 points, 20-10. A lot of interesting football still to be played down in Houston. But right now, we will go around the National Football League here on the Get Right. And I guess let me start by pointing to, let's see, where do we want to go first? I do want to point to this because I want to utilize some audio. The end of the NFC South matchup between the Falcons and the Saints. Did you see this?
I heard about it.
Okay, so what happens is the Saints are beating up on the Falcons. I believe the score at that instance is 41-17. And so Dennis Allen, the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, sends them out in victory formation. I mean, Derek Carr's not even in the game.
Yeah,
right?
take a knee.
Jameis Winston is in as the quarterback. They're getting up there, and they are supposed to take a knee. Except they get in that victory formation where everybody understands, all right, this thing's over. You're going to take a knee. We're going to get out of here.
Run the clock.
And then they hand the football off to, what's my guy's name? It's Jamal Williams, I believe. And they run it in for a touchdown. And it's hilarious to watch, mind you. However, there's a lot of anger. Arthur Smith, now fired, head coach of the Falcons, gets out there during the end of the game where coaches meet up, saying that it's BS. And Dennis Allen says that he knows, and this is cut 22. Dennis Allen actually got on the podium after the game and apologized for that.
Start off by apologizing to Arthur Smith and the Falcons. That was not a play that we intended to run down there to finish out that game. That's not who we are. That's not how we operate. We should have taken a knee. So I want to apologize to them.
So if you say, hey, man, Dennis Allen wanted them to go out there and put the knee down, they went out there and ran the football and scored a touchdown. How did this happen? Cut 23, please, where Jameis Winston, the quarterback on the field at that time, says, oh, no, we decided.
Well, I apologize to DA because the play was victory. But I also explained to DA that it was a team decision. And I think when you have a team morale, and I asked the guys, I said, guys, like, what do you want to do? We know how much Jamal means to this team, and I understood from DA's perspective. So I give him that. But DA didn't condone that at all. You know, he didn't. However, we decided as a team to do it, and man, we got an interception to the 1 yard line. You know, like. So if we would have scored, would it still would have been disrespectful?
There you go. Jameis Winston basically saying, we decided as a team on the field, bump that victory formation. We're going to go out here and run the football. Now, there's multiple things.
There's levels to this.
What part grabbed you, CA, and then I'll add the part that grabbed me afterwards?
That Jameis, they kept asking him every kind of way, and he's like, "No, man, we decided." It's like, wait a minute, you're going up against the coach. You're going against your own coach.
And he was like, "Yeah, he said that," and I understand. However, and then I do love the part where he gets out here and he's like, "I mean, it was 41 points on." Basically, he's like, "There's 41 points on the board, and these 7 were the ones that got you." Word. But no, Swaggy Booties is right. This is the part where I definitely side with DA, and I side with Arthur Smith.
Do too.
You get out in victory formation and there's an understanding.
Yeah.
There's a tacit understanding by everybody on the field. Okay, we're not playing anymore.
Right. That was the whole point. If they had been in a regular formation or whatever, just stop the run.
And so nobody's going to go up there and challenge your offensive lineman, right?
Right. You ain't going to hurt the quarterback. Yeah.
And so the ways in which you're able to get a push in that run play is because the defense is basically like the game is over. And this is how people get hurt. Right?
Exactly.
You don't go out and half-ass football. That's not how this game is played because that's how people get hurt. And I understand from Arthur Smith's perspective why he looks up and he goes, that's BS. However, it's still hilarious to see.
Oh, it's hilarious because of the chaos.
And the most hilarious portion of this is that you have Jameis Winston as the spokesman for this, and he's just the most unintentionally hilarious person. So yeah, that was a wild thing that happened at the end in Week 18. Some other things that happened around the NFL. I did want to mention Derrick Henry was talking after their win in Tennessee earlier on Week 18.
King Henry.
Yeah, it sounded like, I mean, he got out, and I don't know if I need to play the entirety of this audio, but Derrick Henry had a message to the Titans fans. And we might as well play it. This is Cut 21. Tell me if this sounds like somebody who intends to play there next year.
Titan fans, I just want to say thank you for the greatest 8 years of my life, the ups and the downs. Y'all been there for everything, through the adversity. Watching me grow as a person and a player, always supporting me. I love y'all.
Yeah, it was a nice win over Jacksonville. He gone. In fact, he thought he was gone on draft day. Google it up. His friends had told him, you are traded, man. And then he winds up in Tennessee anyway. He likes Tennessee, but it's like they won't give him the ball anyway. And, you know, he live here in Dallas now. And, you know, the guys at his gym where he work out, they were confirming that's what he was thinking back on draft day.
Well, he made it all too apparent in that situation. So looks like he'll be playing somewhere else.
Coach want out of there too. He wants to what's the coach name? He used to be
Mike Vrabel.
Vrabel.
Yeah, former linebacker for the Patriots.
Vrabel said if Belichick's gone, he want to go back to New England and coach there.
I know there's a lot of people that are interested in that possibly happening. And maybe the Titans being able to get that win and stop the Jaguars from winning the AFC South. Maybe that is why the Jaguars fired defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell and multiple defensive assistants on Black Monday. Doug Peterson, who was the head coach there and probably was doing that in part to save his job, said earlier Monday that he was still processing the disappointing end to the season where they lost, I believe, 5 out of the final 6 games.
It was bad.
And so he's still processing the disappointing end and was going to take some time before making staff changes. And apparently that time was less than a day because there you go. The defensive coordinator gone.
Yep. He walked the plank.
From the 2. All right, so I knew this was going to happen, so let's do this. From the 214, I'm all in on Henry and Pollard.
Me too. I ain't mad at that.
So you want to sign both of I don't think that you sign both of them if you do that,
No,
right?
well, put it like this. You talk to Pollard's agent and talk about a reasonable deal. You know what I'm saying? He already got the franchise tag money. It's not like he think he's some superstar. Come on. I'm just saying you talk to him first.
You know who does think he's a superstar?
Who?
Derrick Henry. Also, mind you, in that game, watching Derrick Henry run, how is he still doing that in year 8?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I was wondering. I can't believe it.
He is built like a Mack truck running that fast still.
That's what I'm saying. Give him what he needs, and then Pollard, guess what? You want to stick around? We can still make it like thunder and lightning. Come on, man. You want to run it back? Let's run it back.
Real quick, speaking of him being built like a Mack truck, I still think one of the funniest sports photos I've ever seen was when
him
Derrick Henry next to Mark Ingram.
Yeah. And having been on the same field as that man one time, no, not playing against him, I'm not insane. That's not fair. Those should not be. We shouldn't allow him to play with the other kids, but he does, and he does it really well. And there's a lot of other things that happen in Week 18. We'll see. I'll save some of those. We'll come back around when we get you your headlines at 10 p.m. But that's some of the things around the NFL on the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, let's get into your Victory Monday nitpick. What are some of the things that you still desired to be better, or some of the things that maybe just weren't quite right in Week 18's win against the Washington Commandos, or maybe just the way that you feel about the Cowboys in general? We'll do that next on The Fan.
The Fan continues to grow because of you, our listener teammates.
Team. Tell them you're Tolo. Start the process online right now, PlatinumCDRJTexas.com, and then drive a little further to save a lot more at Platinum Chrysler Dodge Ram Jeep.
Hi, I'm Jamie Flores, the managing partner at the law offices of Nick Namath. You're a procrastinator. That oil change? Next month. The gym? Maybe tomorrow. But procrastinate resolving your IRS problems, and they can put you behind bars.
I'm Dallas tax attorney Nick Namath. I've helped thousands of people just like you with IRS problems. Your first meeting with us is free and confidential, so don't procrastinate when it comes to the IRS.
Call Nick Namath today at 972-484-0829 or visit myiRSteam.com.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. From our fan studios secured by DFWsecurity.com, it's time for the Get Right on 105.3 The Fan.
That's right. It's the Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. I'm Reginald Atatula. That is the sound of the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Ross Lubinsky's on the ones and twos for us this evening. And you hanging out with us, listening wherever you are, however you're listening. We thank you for making us a part of your Monday evening, your Victory Monday evening, your National Championship Monday, as that game at NRG Stadium in Houston. It's a close one, 20-13 in favor of Michigan, as they are currently punting away to Washington. So, look, we are getting very close to maybe this being a deadlocked game again, with just about 7 minutes to go in the third quarter of that one. You're into the third period at Xcel Energy Center in Minnesota. As your Dallas Stars lead 1-0 in favor, and 1-0 in Minnesota. Matt Murray, 21 saves on 21 shots, as you mentioned earlier, doing a fantastic job in, I believe, his first start for your Dallas Stars.
Young 25-year-old first time up out of the minors.
There you go. Some breaking news, I guess, on this Monday evening. And breaking news on 105 through the Fan is presented by BetQL. Smarter bets start with BetQL. So download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today as of 8:55. So just 8 minutes ago, Shams Charania of The Athletic let it be known. He tweeted out, Grizzlies' Ja Morant will undergo season-ending surgery for a labrum tear in his shoulder. So, he had that shoulder injury. We knew that he was missed last couple of games for the Grizzlies. He's now out for the season. So a real grand opening, grand closing type vibe for Ja Morant on the season after serving his 25-game suspension. Comes back, plays just a few games. Can't be more than 10 games at this point. And now his season is over. I feel like the Grizzlies have to just shut it down, as they are missing a lot of their valuable players on that team this year.
And just in time for the Mavericks to beat them down again. The Mavericks host the Grizzlies tomorrow. Now, we'll get some more into all the details of all that. And they got a lot of players that are hurt. I feel bad for Marcus Smart, who got traded from the Celtics to the Grizzlies, because, man, I wanted him to play on a winner, either stay in Boston or somehow another years ago I was hoping he'd come back home, play for the Mavericks.
And this is where
stuck.
This is where I would utilize this is where I'll utilize a quote from the television show Mad Men. That's what the money is for.
Yep. And he did get paid.
That is what the money's for. But no, it's going to be a tough stretch for the rest of it for Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. They're not going to be expecting to get a lot of wins. However, this could be a benefit for the Grizzlies, because that draft pick's going to be significantly higher. And one thing that Memphis was starting to get close to was a dilemma. They had a lot of young talent that had aged, and they have to start deciding who they're going to pay. Maybe you're back in a position to maybe add some young talent to that roster and what they're doing. Anyways, that was just a breaking news now.
I'm from Memphis, but I ain't feeling that bad for him.
Well, yeah, I guess that's fair. Boo-hoo. The Southwest Division continues to lean towards your Dallas Mavericks. Victory Monday.
Yes, sir.
Right here on The Fan, your Dallas Mavericks, or Dallas Cowboys. My goodness, there's so many Dallas teams that we done talked about in just this first 5 minutes. Dallas Cowboys. This is your home of the Dallas Cowboys, 105 through The Fan.
They say it's a new intro. It's the home of the NFC champion, East champion.
That's right. Let me get it right. Let me roll that back. The home of your NFC East champion, Dallas Cowboys, 105 through The Fan. And it's a Victory Monday. However, we already talked about who hooped in this game. We didn't get to everyone. Jake Ferguson was pretty nice. Peyton Hendershot actually looked and gave you a productive offensive game, which was nice. Obviously, Brandon Cooks got to show up a little bit.
Yeah,
Jalen Tolbert got a touchdown. He looked like he was floating for a little bit. And that's just a little bit. However, let's do a little nitpick, because,
we must.
After a win, there's not a lot of spaces where you can be like, all right, but there was this one thing that I didn't like, because everybody's just like, shut up, fool. We trying to have fun. This is your space. 877-881-1053. What are your nitpicks after Week 18? Concerns after Week 18, and maybe just about your Cowboys in general. You were talking about the offense and the ways in which this run game looked good. How much can we take of that, though, CA? Like, I'm
going to let you answer that, because I got a different nitpick.
Oh, you got a different nitpick? Okay. Because I'm thinking about this, and this has been a aggressively fine offensive run game which is not necessarily sufficient for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's
and I feel
fact.
like there's the general nitpick that you could do in this game is just that is not a good football team. And it was increasingly apparent, especially with the injuries that they had. The one thing that you could usually point to for the Washington Commandos, well, that defensive line going to give you something. That defensive line looked putrid.
In fact, Jonathan Allen didn't even play, and you already know they traded away their 2 pass rushers.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even anything like you used to see. You used to have the Alabama boys in the middle. And, man, come on.
No.
That was not the Washington defensive line you'd seen from years ago.
Although John Ridgeway was like,
the
hey,
one.
what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
He ends up getting a block kick. Actually, that's one of the nitpicks. I don't remember.
That's where I was going.
Okay, let's go. Because Victor in Corinth, I believe, texted in on Friday and was like, what he wanted to see in this game was Aubrey miss a field goal so that pressure was off of him, but then make some more. And I was like, I don't think you need to do that. Just let him keep making it. And y'all just went, not that I believe in jinxes, however, I'm still going to pull your card. How you going to jinx my mans like that?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
And
he didn't even miss.
And he didn't even kick back. They let a naysayer up the middle. Yeah, I said naysayer. They let the man up the middle unblocked. He blocked the punt and stopped the streak at 35. I was like, why are you going to do butter like that?
And then Aubrey went and missed the next one.
And then he missed the next one. But then guess what? The good part is the last one he made, which was the 38-yarder,
right down
it
the
was
middle.
a 50-yarder.
And it split it.
It split it, right? Because he always kicks it right up the middle. I'm going to say the one that he missed by himself, the wind got it because it was very windy out there.
Okay, all right.
I ain't worried about him, but I'm mad. I'm going to nitpick the fact that offensive line got to do better for Bones and for Butter.
Man, I'm willing and I'm inclined to lean towards your explanation of the win. However, I don't think I've seen the mechanics on a Brandon Aubrey kick look like that and knuckle in that way and dance the way that it did. So that's the thing that got me for a second. I was like, hey, wait, hold on.
Who is in his uniform?
Right. He typically kicks that thing as true can be.
Straight
and
down
so,
the middle.
you know, some people have that natural hook or whatever
Right,
in their kick. And no, not him. It usually goes straight down. And so when I saw that thing jump to the left, I was like, hold on, wait a minute.
Somebody
what did we do?
Up at the
Who
top,
broke him?
The skies are there's a drone up there. There's like,
okay.
But like I said, he recovered with a 50-yarder, and so it's like my confidence ain't wavering. And again, he's gonna be kicking at AT&T Stadium, rain or shine, roof closed, the whole 9 yards. I ain't even worried about him.
From the 214 on the truckwreck.com text line, that number is 877-881-1053, by the way, if you want to get involved. 877-881-1053 is the truckwreck.com text line. And from the 214, they say, since we nitpicking, Michael Gallup.
Well, they didn't really throw it to him.
He has become less and less involved
He's
in
a
like
ghost.
the actual playing of it.
Every now and then you might see something. But
2 targets, no catches for him in this game. I mean, he could still get out there and give you some blocking or whatever. Has Jalen Tolbert taken his spot at this point?
Not quite, but it's a toss-up.
I think it's close, yeah.
It's a toss-up. And I said this when they signed him on his hospital bed. I'm like, wait a minute now. And I love Michael Gallup. That's my guy. But I'm like, wait a minute now. Y'all going to sign him on his hospital bed as if – because what they did was – see, the Cowboys are slick like this. They basically trade away Amari for nothing, for a 5th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And to make everybody try to forget about it, they signed an injured player. That's what they did with Pollard and Zeke. Same thing. It's like, okay, Zeke, we're going to let you go. Here, Pollard, you on your hospital bed. We're going to give you all this franchise tag money. Y'all ain't slick. We ain't forgot. But Michael Gallup, I think he's past the injuries, but, I mean, they really don't need him.
Yeah.
And I hope he get a ring out of this before he goes, but I mean, they just don't really need him.
Yeah,
and I like him personally. I really, really do. He's a good guy.
Agreed. And the tough thing about it is, you talked about it. He's past the injuries, and that's the thing that scares me a little bit. Is I think that he's probably fairly healthy. I don't know. I can't speak exactly to if he's all the way healthy, and we never really know until afterwards when people are more inclined to tell us. But Michael Gallup, the thing that he is supposed to be able to do is give you a big body that could shield and, kind of maybe come up with these slants and stuff, and he just does not do that. And so that's the really frustrating thing when it comes down to it. How about this? On the truckwreck.com text line, 682 says, why are the first-string players in during the fourth quarter of a dominant win?
That's a nitpick because a lot of people, you're already up 35-10 most of the fourth quarter. Why are they still in there? You don't want nobody hurt. You already saw Gilly get hurt. We're talking about Stephon Gilmore early in the game. His shoulder, by what he said, he's going to be all right. But he didn't come back to the game, and it's like, wait a minute, there's your hint right there. What you're trying to do is look like the Cowboys and then get the F out of there.
Yeah.
And so basically, the 682 is saying, you effing around and about to find out.
Yeah, and look, now Stephon Gilmore, he said that, the shoulder was just out of place. They put it back in place and he was feeling right. And let's hope so. Because Jordan Love has found a little something this season. And not just that, like Stephon Gilmore is so important to what you do. All right, like the cornerbacks positions are necessary to what you do. And so you would hate for him to be hampered in any way. And so, yeah, just that playing with the fire, it felt like. I don't know if that fully calls into question Mike McCarthy, but Mike McCarthy has questions when it comes to his decision-making in general. He's not flawless in that regard. And that's one of those ones that makes you look up and go, it reminds you that Mike McCarthy is fallible in ways that could cost you at some point or sometime when it comes down to his decision-making. Ross, you got something on the Victory Monday nitpick?
Yeah, my just a quick response to the whole, not understanding why a lot of starters were in for that last one. My thing, two teams, the follow-up to the Packers winning the Super Bowl. They went 15-1. They rest their guys in the final week. They got that bye for the wild card round. Guess what? They laid a stinker against the eventual champion, New York Giants. Secondly, a team, unfortunately for us, the Cowboys. They rested their starters in the final week of their regular season in 2016. And guess what? They, too, lost in the divisional round. So I understand
we're doing the rest versus Russ conversation here?
Yeah.
But they were playing all along. He was talking about the fourth quarter when you had the blowout.
Yeah, and that's my thing is I'm like, I can understand why you don't want your starters to get injured. I totally get that. But my thing is I always worry about that rust.
Yeah, and I know that Swaggy Booty's making the point that there's never enough backups for all the starters to sit, and that's fair. However, I think the question was less about the people who were backing up, but the timing.
The game was already won. Why are they still out there in that kind of weather anyway? I mean, it wasn't raining and everything, but it was still not the perfect weather. That being said, we got to tell all this nitpicking just raw. He said, for the season, I'm nitpicking these road games. They cannot seem to play well on the road. Here's what I'm going to go with that. You don't have to worry about that until you get to the NFC Championship game. And if for some reason the 49ers were to lose, guess what? You get to host the NFC Championship game. So you don't even have to worry about the road. If they're in the Super Bowl, the road is a neutral site. It's Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about the way that this thing broke for you at the very end of the season.
That's why you had to win this game against Washington. And by the way, it was funny. While the game with Washington was going on, the Eagles were getting their butts handed to them. And everybody in Philadelphia was having a meltdown. I enjoyed that part of it, too.
Yeah.
Because they got to go to Tampa, and it's going to be Monday Night Football. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're going to get beat automatically, but put it like this. They're the ones that got to go on the road the whole way.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel fairly positive after this Washington football game. Now, I think that there's still things that this team can be susceptible about. Clearly, like from the 2-on-4, they say linebackers and safety play, and even in that regard, the safeties have been playing better than they had. Like Donovan Wilson adds another interception in this game.
Daron's come out of the November blues.
And it feels like they've done a good job of recognizing where their bread is buttered on offense, making sure to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb.
And I think you got a little help on the way. I don't know if he still got it, but Damian Wilson is added to the practice squad, and you got some depth, some emergency depth of the linebacker who he at least knows the system.
And I mean, it's not something that we're going to notice a lot, but I'm just so happy Jonathan Hankins is back.
Well,
I think that there's just a comfort level that this team has.
Knowing you got somebody that can't stop the run because Mozzie ain't there yet. I'm not saying Mozzie's a bust, but he just ain't there yet. I've learned that sometimes it takes a little while to ask your wide receiver Hardy.
So there you go. Those are some of
Tolbert.
We had to find our nitpicks when it came to this particular game, Week 18 versus the Washington Commandos.
The nits were picking somewhere out. They were hard to find. Like a needle in a haystack.
You know what one of my nitpicks was?
What's that?
I had to force myself to remain interested in this game after a while because they handled business in such a way. Now, early on.
Oh, yeah, it was an adventure. The first quarter was an adventure.
I guess that's a nitpick we can bring up. Hey, let's get this done.
Y'all playing with your food.
Yeah, let's get this done
serious.
early.
Washington is not a serious team. Stop playing with your food.
Stop it. But Cowboys still get a win, 38-10. NFC East champions, 12-5 for the third straight year, and hosting this weekend against the Green Bay Packers.
Favored by 7 now.
Is it 7? It's opened at 7.5. Maybe it crept a little bit, but
it's down to 7.
A whole ass touchdown is what your Dallas Cowboys are favored by. We're gonna get you ready for that all the way through up to Sunday 3:25 right here on 105.3 The Fan. We were just re-racking the breaking news of the evening. John Morant, according to Shams Charania, going to have season-ending surgery for a torn labrum. So the Grizzlies probably going to be bad for the rest of the season. I think that's just the easy way to say it.
Just in time to play the Mavericks.
That's right. That's right.
I ain't mad at that.
The Mavericks have an opportunity to make this homestand, the 7-game homestand that they're on, even better after a signature win on, what was that, yesterday?
Last night.
Man, time is running together for me. We'll talk about that more later as well. However, coming up next on the Get Right, in that run, there's a question to be asked. Have these Dallas Mavericks turned the corner defensively?
What?
We'll do that next on The Fan.
The more you listen, the harder we grind.
at repairclinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Frustrated by the DIY cameras or smart gadgets you bought online? Just send them back. DFW Security has affordable, superior technology with professional installation and local support for your home or business. DFWSecurity.com.
Junk for Joy is the easiest and fastest way to donate your car. Donate today and your car can be picked up tomorrow. Go to junkforjoy.org or call 1-877-JUNK4JOY.
It's a Cowboys Monday, brought to you by Twin Peaks and K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing on 105.3 The Fan.
And it's back to the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Frankel and Frankel. Life is unpredictable. Accidents happen. Frankel and Frankel are the go-to attorneys for car and truck wrecks in DFW. If your loved one has been in an accident, contact Frankel and Frankel for a free consultation at truckwreck.com or call 214 or 817-333-3333.
It's the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Atatula alongside the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Ross Levinsky on the ones and twos. Thanks for rocking with us on this Monday evening. 20-13 in favor of Michigan is the score in Houston in the national championship game in college football. And also, I forgot to let you know that the Stars had scored their second goal in the evening. Tyler Sagan was your goal scorer. Then, a few minutes later,
another one.
Roddick Foxa scored a goal, shorthanded, made it 3-0. And as I was giving you this alert, Robo was on the board. Jason Robertson scores 4-0 in favor of your Dallas Stars. 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. Looks like they have a good opportunity and a good runway to cruise to a much-needed win in Minnesota against the Wild. Of course, me saying that, if they lose, you can say it's my fault. Y'all can say I jinxed it. However, they are.
No, they ain't gonna lose that game. And by the way, props to the goalie,
Matt Murray. See, I keep doing it.
Matthew Murray's got 23 saves,
doing a fantastic job in his first start for the Stars between the pipes. And look, man, this is exactly what you need as a bounce back.
I think the Stars are going to play the Wild again in 2 more nights at the AAC.
I believe so. I'll double check on that to make sure that we're not telling no falsehoods.
That's right.
On these here airwaves, but we appreciate you rocking with us here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we'll do a little bit of sharing time. Tell you why I am dog tired right now. However,
you've been going through some things.
Been going through.
I have no idea what you're going through.
Yeah.
Some people can relate though.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's going to be interesting to hear it.
I hope so. But for the time being, the most relatable thing is the Dallas Mavericks.
Hey.
Getting some New Year's resolutions in a way, as they got a big signature win against the Minnesota Timberwolves just last night. They played, and 115-108 was the score without Derek Lively, the 19-year-old center, against the team, the Timberwolves, who are number one in the West in the standings. Anthony Edwards has 36 points in this game. I mean, and it just is Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving going for what they know, getting downhill, getting to the basket, and knocking down threes.
Oh, yeah. But that wasn't even the story. What's wild about it, you mentioned the matchup. Minnesota's been the best team in the West all year long.
That's right.
And the Mavericks have played them more than anybody. They played them in Abu Dhabi a couple of times.
That's true.
And I'm like, at some point, they got to beat them. Well, guess what? Superstar showed up. You mentioned Anthony Edwards had 36. Luka had 34, and Kyrie had 35.
That's right.
So they had 69 points between those two superstars alone. But that wasn't even the main story.
No, it wasn't.
The main story was the small Mavericks out-hustled the bigs of the Minnesota Timberwolves. On paper, it's a mismatch. You got Rudy Gobert, you got Cat, you got Anthony Edwards, and you got a bunch of guys that are just long and tall that the Mavericks can't really match up against. Here's what happened. They out-hustled them. And if you look back just 2 years ago when the Mavericks made that run to the Western Conference Finals, they did it playing defense, a variety of zone defenses, and hustle. Everybody bought in. And this year, quiet as it's kept, the last 2 weeks, the Dallas Mavericks have the 6th best defense in the NBA. What?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this game, lots of steals, 7 steals for your Dallas Mavericks. Active hands were very apparent when you're watching this game, because we mentioned it was the Stars on offense. Not a lot of offense coming from other players. Tim Hardaway Jr. 12 points on 4 of 13 shooting. Not necessarily what you want. Derrick Jones Jr., 12 points on 5 of 12 shooting. Not as efficient as you want from those guys, but those guys defensively. Derrick Jones Jr. gets 3, count them 1, 2, 3 blocks. Grant Williams, in fairly limited minutes, gets a couple of blocks himself.
The Mavericks had 8 blocks to Minnesota's 4. And the Minnesota's got the bigs.
Absolutely. It feels like this was a statement piece defensively for this team, letting it be known and making people like me go back and go, let's go look at the stats on this and see where this is happening. And over the last 10 games, and I mean, you mentioned the last couple of weeks, over the last 10 games, I believe that this team is top 4 in defensive rating. And you can kind of look over the last 15 games. I think that they're top half of the league in defensive rating. And so, yes, 2 and 4. I do need to give some shout outs to Dwight Powell while I have the opportunity.
I'm going to break it all the way down for you. Our guy, Iztok Franco, who's over in Slovenia, writes for D Magazine.
Fantastic writer.
He breaks it down with numbers to back up everything he writes. And he said, quote, in his article on his Twitter page, Dwight Powell played big, all caps. He says, man is constantly underestimated by fans, but just keeps hustling. Had 5 offensive rebounds, many more tips, drew fouls off the glass. The big reason why Cat was in foul trouble all night. How about Dwight Powell drew 3 fouls against Cat, 1 foul against Gobert, 1 foul against Reed, 1 foul against Anthony Edwards, 2 fouls against McDaniels. This is Powell doing all these hustle plays. And guess what? Remember when Derrick Jones Jr. went in for the slam that basically gave them the cushion? It was a dagger slam. Powell set the pick, the screen.
He sealed down
and
low.
he also had a 3-point play that brought them back because the Mavericks were down by 6 points with about 4 minutes to play. Powell got the board, put up the shot, got the foul and one, made the free throw, and then got the assist to Kyrie in the corner for the corner 3. Powell was playing out of his mind. And again, he hustles so hard because he is a power forward playing center. That's why the reason Powell plays so well is because he's got a high basketball IQ. The reason you can't utilize him in the playoffs is because he can't play defense against the bigs. He did that against these bigs this night alone. When Lively gets back, you hope he can do those things because he's got bounce. He's a thin guy, and that's what you want. You want somebody that's not going to clog the paint when Kyrie and Luka and Dante Exum and all those guys drive. But he's got to have a high IQ, which Powell has. That's what Lively has. And Powell is actually working with Lively as well as Tyson Chandler, and making this guy as a rookie, 19-year-old rookie, grow into the role. And when he comes off this ankle, maybe it's going to be tomorrow, Lively will be able to do those things in the playoffs that Powell was doing last night.
I mean, that's the hope.
That's the hope.
And, of course, Dwight Powell, for the expectation, absolutely played well above what the general expectation is. The Dallas Mavericks, just over the entirety of the course of the season, now sit 17th at defensive rating with a 115.8 defensive rating. And it's what we've talked about a lot is if they can manage to play average defense, and they're just below average right now, this needs to be sustainable, though. And
it does. And part of the deal that helps them keep this sustainable, let me throw this one stat at you. They know how to draw fouls. Tim Hardaway, when he's bricking up shots or whatever, he at least will draw the foul, right? How come Dwight Powell had 8 drawn fouls? Luka had 7 drawn fouls. And like I said, they were the ones who were like putting their bodies on the line. And that's part of the defense.
Yeah, and I think that the part that will make this sustainable, because I know your head coach, Jason Kidd, has been hammering the idea that your best offense is a good defense. And you had Luka say that. You can see in which you can see the places in which the energy is and the effort is helping. And active hands and being in the passing lane shows up big.
Yep.
This is a team that on offense is not typically good at getting downhill and scoring at the paint. And one thing that they do defensively is they often let teams get in and have easy buckets at the rim. Yeah. And it's not a good way of going. It's the most efficient shot in basketball. And if you're giving that to other teams, you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage. What you could see in this game was they had a certain tightness and compactness, which was aided by the Timberwolves not knocking down shots, but they were able to use their hands, get their hand on the basketball, and not allow easy drives. And then also they were able to, get some rebounds and just stay compact, get in passing lanes to the point where there were points in this game, and I was watching where the Timberwolves were passing just around the three-point line rather than penetrating into the defense.
Didn't go in there. And this is a smaller team.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
And so I think if you can manage to keep that level of effort, and that's the big if you keep that managed effort, if you can keep the smart hands going, and if you can get into those passing lanes, you can really help yourself play somewhat average basketball, and then Kyrie and Luka can do what they do, and you have a recipe for some level of success.
Exactly, and that's what they did not do last year. Let me call out some people. Last year, 2 years ago, when they went to the Western Conference Finals, top 3 defense from January on. 5 different zones they would run, and zone defense requires buy-in. Last season, you had guys that did not buy in, including Christian Wood, who they had to tell him where to be on defense in the middle of the damn game. Shaq the Fool, JaVale McGee, got bounced, had no buy-in, had to keep his butt on the bench. Luka was not buying in. Why? He decided he wanted to argue with the refs. He wasn't even in enough shape to buy in. That has all changed. You got length this year. You got athleticism. I'm not talking about length around the perimeter, but you got guys that are athletic and they have bought into defense.
Derrick Jones Jr. went up and got maybe one of the blocks of the season.
Well, he's probably the best defender that Luka's ever had with him out, whose name is not Dodo. You follow what I'm saying? This guy is athletic. Derrick Jones Jr., for those who don't know, was the NBA slam dunk champion in 2020, but nobody's paying attention because it was a COVID year. You follow what I'm saying? He, under the radar, was signed, and your coach, Jason Kidd, was smart enough to start his ass. Whereas people were like, wait a minute, what is he doing? How about your coach, Jason Kidd, was smart enough to say Dante Exum is smart enough to start? I want him in there. You haven't seen him right now with Kyrie because he has a bruised heel. But imagine you got a defender on the perimeter who's got some size that can guard some 2 players. And Kyrie been getting rebounds. Do you realize his last 4 games, 9 rebounds, 9 rebounds, 9 rebounds, and 8 rebounds. This is Kyrie, who's the smallest man on the court most of the time. So what you got is a team that doesn't generally win the rebound game. But guess what? Chuck Cooperstein was talking about this after the game. He was saying, you know what? He has a stat that shows if the Mavericks are within 5 or 10 rebounds, or not 5 or 10, within 5 or 7 rebounds of the team that out-rebounds them, they win the damn game.
And I mean, it makes sense. You're not built to win the rebound battle.
Right now.
But if you can keep it relatively close, you understand that you have the kind of team and you have the superstars that are necessary to kind of, close that gap. And so I think that they are nearing what should be the ideal.
They got to make another move.
I mean, I would appreciate another move a great deal, and you're going to be watching this a good amount as they hit the trade deadline. The question is this level of defense sustainable? Can you keep this level of effort? Because again, this is what it's going to need. And you saw a high level of effort that you sometimes see in games where it's like you're playing the best team, and so guys are turned on. You need to keep that level of energy and effort over the course of these things. Because again, as I mentioned, over the last 10 games, top 4 defensive rating, right? Like I believe over the last 5 games, top 5 defensive rating. Now, of course, some of that is because you played the Portland Trailblazers a couple of times, who are not a good team at all. But even with that somewhat noise, there's still something to be said for the process is getting better. And so if you can keep that level of play, you can maybe play average level defense, and you know that you have extraordinary offense to go with it. That's the recipe for success if they can keep going.
And by the way, for those who are keeping up, the Mavericks have now won 22 games. They're still in the top 6 of the West. When they lost that game against Utah, their last road game, they have a 7-game residence right now. They have been on the road more than any team in the league. There's only 2 teams that spent more time on the road, and the Mavericks led the NBA with road victories going into that Utah game with 11. Nobody's paying attention right now because it's football season. But under the radar, the Dallas Mavericks, as small as they are ahead of what the experts thought they would do. And what we're telling you right now, some people say, you guys are just homers. How about we're telling you not only what we see, but what the experts are writing and what the stats say in the next generational stats. We're just giving them this is not supposed to be happening. We're giving them props. Can they sustain this? We don't know. But guess what? They're doing this despite all the injuries. They have over 83 games worth of player injuries, and they still have 22 victories. Just saying. Without all the home games. Just saying.
I'm just amazed at me personally being called a homer. I don't think
I know you've never done that. In fact, you're the one that's really saying, all right, show me. And I love that attitude because somebody's got to say, put feet to the fire. Show me first before I give you any kind of props.
And again, I was impressed by this game, and we'll see if they can continue doing that. Obviously, game tomorrow evening, correct, CA?
Mm-hmm. By the way, the guy that's texting in is saying that you're a homer. He thinks that the Mavericks have a bunch of white guys on the team. Do you realize that Luka Doncic and Maxi Kleber are only the only 2 white guys on the entire roster? So check your facts.
And Maxi ain't played for a couple months.
And Maxi ain't played since October. Just saying, before you call in and call Reg a homer and call me, and just at least back your facts up with reality.
Mavs play the Grizzlies tomorrow, and of course, the breaking news that was delivered by Shams Charania. Ja Morant out for the remainder of the season with a torn labrum, had some season-ending surgery today, and so Grizzlies will be very much limited in that game against the Dallas Mavericks. You have to strongly believe that'll be another win for your Mavericks tomorrow evening at the AAC at 7:30. So yeah, look, opportunity to continue bumping up those numbers when it comes to defensively, but racking up wins.
It's overtime.
It's necessary. I believe they're currently tied for 6th in the West, and if you want to stay above that, play-in situation, stack up wins where you can get them.
There you go.
So get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Coming up next, let's do a little sharing time as we're still stuck at 20-13 in the national championship game. Michigan leads there. Your Stars 4-0. Let me tell you about the day that I've had trying to ward off bed bugs. We do it next on The Fan.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having But Coach McCarthy is right there with the empathy.
Pretty good timing. A week off and miss another week with Nichols. Sounds like he's got a good agent.
Oh, no one is safe in this clubhouse. Your home of the Cowboys, Rangers, and a couple of laughs is right here on The Fan.
And it's back to the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Classic Chevrolet. Why do so many Texans love Classic Chevrolet and Grapevine? They've got the goods. More new Silverados than anyone with incredible savings. Why go anywhere else? Go see them today or visit ClassicChevrolet.com. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Find new roads, relax, and enjoy the difference.
It's the Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Datatula here with you alongside the three-time Hall of Famer, Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Thanks to Ross Lubinsky on the ones and twos. And thank you for rocking with us here on a Victory Monday. You can always get involved with the program by texting in to the truckwreck.com text line. That number is 877-881-1053. You can always see our smiling faces and watch us do this fine program by looking up 105.3 The Fan on YouTube or going to twitch.tv/DallasFanCam. Shout out to the various people in there having fantastic conversations along with the show and maybe just apart from the show. It's always fun to get involved with fellow Tolos. So that's always a way that you can do that.
Swaggy Booty, one of those Twitch Tolos?
Swaggy Booty's always in there.
All right.
Always. Now, right now, 9:45 thereabouts, we typically will do sharing time, and we'll do that now as well. A little bit less of a happy affair for me, sharing time this instance, because your boy is tired today. And look, I'm not necessarily here to complain, right? Even though I do enjoy complaining. I want that noted. It's fun for me. But I know, don't nobody want to hear that, right? Like, I'm not here to do stuff.
When they hear why you tired, I think some people can relate.
Right. I think you guys will understand what's happening with me. Because over the weekend, I realized I found out there are bed bugs in my apartment.
No.
And I am a fairly hygienic person. Mm-hmm. I clean somewhat regularly, right? Not as regularly as I used to. I should do better, right? Like I used to be on top of it, and of late been not as on top of it, but I'm not filthy by any means, right? But ultimately, it's like, yo, it's some bed bugs. Where the heck did these come from? Regardless of that being the case.
How did you first notice them?
It's like you see a couple of black specks in the corner. You're like, what's this? And it's like, you know, you do your Googles, you do your research.
This is not dirt.
And ultimately you realize, oh, wait.
The dirt is moving.
These are bed bugs. And it's like, oh, well, now.
Were they in your bed with you at all? While you were trying to sleep?
Not in my bed. Not that I've noticed. Now, this is the thing is I might get down deep in there and find one. And so still inspection is pending at this point, right? Tomorrow, inspection and trying to get this thing fumigated or whatever the right process is. Thankfully, I don't have to handle that. My apartment complex, it's like, yo, I love living in an apartment complex where they're good about taking care of their maintenance, right? Not everybody has their landlords that are great at taking care of maintenance, so I'm happy about that. But with that being the case, they were like, all right, cool, we'll come through. Here's the list of things that you have to do to make sure to get this right. And of course, I understand we got to make sure that we clean up, right? But I got to get all the clothes out of all the dressers and stuff, and I got to bag them up and wash them, obviously, to make sure that there are no bed bugs that are nestled in like the drawers or anything.
Gotta go to the laundromat.
Well, thankfully I got that in the apartment. But I'm running this thing all day and night, sorting through stuff, moving furniture, bagging stuff up, all that. And that's been my day all day. While also trying to vacuum everything 3 times over to make sure that there's nothing anywhere. And yes, 214, that's supposed to be the best part of winter, less bugs.
Yeah. Definitely.
Unfortunately, now I got that on a Monday, having to do all this.
And it's about to get colder today and tonight, rather.
Yes, it is.
Maybe snow tomorrow.
Yes, it is.
Flurries.
Can we freeze them out? Is that something I can do? But yes, I spent the day having to. Yeah, exactly. 214, right? Like, got the head itchy. I have been more itchy today than I have been
wondering
over
for
the
bed
last
bugs
weeks.
in your hair.
And it's like, I think it's just the realization. You realize that they're there and you're like, oh, now I feel itchy. And so, yes, I'm sorry, 214, and for everybody else listening that I've created that for. But I don't know, man. Like, has anyone else been in circumstances where they find out that they have bed bugs? Because again, I don't think I've done anything to have bed bugs. I don't think I have associated with folks that have bed bugs. Now, this is the thing. Can I give you my theory?
Yeah, please give us the theory. And we got people, Tolos, texting.
Please.
We love to get right, Tolos. We appreciate y'all.
Now, this is the thing that's frustrating for me. I think it might be the neighbors. Because again,
apartment neighbors.
I think it might be
down the
apartment
hall
neighbors.
or down the hall walkway.
I think it might be because in doing all this cleaning up, and obviously now this is just an opportunity to do an early spring cleaning for me at this point. I'm like, if I'm gonna get it through all of this, I might as well do the whole gambit. Going out to the trash, the dumpster, I see right next to the dumpster an entire mattress with still a fitted sheet on it.
No.
Who throws out an entire mattress with the fitted sheet on it? No box spring, no nothing, just
Whoever
a mattress.
brought some bed bugs to the neighborhood.
That's the theory. That's the theory I'm working on right now. I can't say for sure because, again, look, man, sometimes people just throw out mattresses. It's an apartment complex, right? Like maybe someone moved out, didn't feel like they wanted to carry that or whatever. Box screen's good or whatever. Maybe they bought a new mattress online or something. But I was just like, who does this?
They're suspect. They're a suspect.
Yeah, it's fishy.
We got some Tolo section in the 469 said, I had bed bugs in July. Had to throw all my furnitures away. Apartments couldn't get rid of them with the furniture that was infested. Ultimately, I had to move, and to this day, I have bed bug PTSD.
That's insane. Look, I'm hoping that this is caught very soon because, again, I have not seen a lot of them, thankfully. I really had not considered the idea that I'm going to have to, get rid of all my stuff. Because let me tell you who does not have all my stuff money right now.
Oh, boy.
Your boy
Timing
Reg.
is everything. No, yeah, exactly. You just starting out. 214 said, I had bed bugs. We had to use industrial grade heaters to kill them for 8 hours in the house. Heaters. Did the apartment complex say what they're going to do?
They did not say, but I think it's like some level of chemicals. But I don't know. And honestly, I won't know because I got to be out of the apartment for basically all day tomorrow.
Oh, listen to this story. 214 says, it was a total nightmare when I had them. I worked at a hotel, and that's why I had them.
Huh.
The 806 says, my girl found worms in our cat's litter box yesterday, lost her damn mind, didn't sleep at all because she was freaking out all night. She was convinced that those same bugs and worms were in our bed.
Yeah, that'll do it to you. And now I am in that same level. I don't know if paranoid is the right word because I'm not sure if I'm that level, but yeah.
It's a concern. It's a major concern.
Thank you.
Another 806 says, I had bed bugs in my college dorm. They had to evacuate the entire building for a week. Couch went to the curb.
Yeah. See,
people can relate in this, man. They relating to your drama. They understand.
Thank you. Thank you for understanding the level of upheaval my life has now gone through. And you guys are all providing me with some variation of what the worst case scenarios could be.
The various things.
And now I just need to mentally get myself ready for the possibility that I'm going to have to go get an entire new furniture set for the apartment. Because if this isn't as early on as I think I have caught it, and there are actually bed bugs all up into stuff, that will make me very, very upset.
Okay, so another one, 817 said, they're asking about you. Did you travel lately? Is that where these bed bugs might have came from? Did you bring it in yourself?
I can't imagine so. Like I don't get to travel very much. And the places that I've gone recently have been to my mother's house. And that's a whole nother issue, if that's the case, which I highly doubt it is.
Oh, boy. Are you ready for that? Are you sitting down? Because here's some news for you.
I am sitting down. Should I stand up then?
No, you want to sit down.
No?
You want to sit down.
Should we just alter the sitting, standing arrangement?
No, you want to sit down because this is some news you're going to have to bear.
All right, still sitting.
469 says, text me. I've got some good tips for you, Reg. No BS. The apartments and pest control people will tell you that you can keep your furniture, but that's not going to happen. You need to get rid of the infested furniture and heat treat. Heat's the only thing that will kill them. If the neighbors have them, they would just come back, man.
Okay.
All right. Got some tips for you. We will save your number from the 469. We're going to save your number because Reggie might want to get back to you.
All right, I'm going to be real diligent then. I know what to look for. Thanks to the Tolo family of listeners. Thank you. We're going to make sure, see which furniture is or is not infested. And then we going to snitch on these neighbors. I'm very much, especially in apartment livers, right? Y'all be snitching on your neighbors because for the most part, I'm like, if it does not bother me, for the most part, I will not, let people know. However, when it comes to bed bugs, y'all getting told on. I'm pointing fingers.
Yeah, the 214 said bed bugs are hitchhikers. They will get on your clothes and get off at the next stop. The 817 says, I moved into an apartment that had a bed. Bugs got bed and the bed bugs, and I got permanent scars from bites on my back. Thank God I'm out of that place. Use diamicosis earth to dry them out.
Okay. Now, look.
Don't want to scare you, but those are things.
I'm scared. I'm adequately scared. I'm sorry. Swaggy Booty says I'm spreading rumors on Nextdoor app. No, I don't get on the Nextdoor app. I'm going to go talk to them people in their faces.
Yeah, I was about to say that's what I do. I try and handle the roommate situation myself, and if they just basically tell me to,
F off.
Exactly. That's when I would go to. But a quick question for you, Reggie. I've never had bed bugs, and this is for all the folks listening or watching who have not experienced it. Was it something like you look at the bed bugs and you're immediately like, yep, those are bed bugs?
No, I had to do my Googles.
Okay.
I was a little bit perplexed as to what it was. I was just like, honestly, as a dude with a beard.
Look like lice or something?
It looked like little, like a very tiny ball of hair to me.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, what is this? But no. And someone said from the 817, getting bed bugs from hotels is the most common.
Yeah, that's why they said, did you travel somewhere and come back home? Because sometimes you be on that hotel bed and not realize, wait a minute.
Yeah, there was an epidemic in Paris just a few months ago.
Yes,
in fact, Atolo texted said, were you in Paris? I was wondering why he asked that.
Yeah, I don't got Paris money. Like, if I don't have
there's a Paris, Texas too.
Yeah, there is. I guess that's fair. I wasn't there neither. I just told you I don't have replace all the furniture money, so I definitely don't have just gallivant to Paris money. Mm-hmm. I guess I will try and keep you guys updated as to what's happening with the bed bugs.
People care.
I honestly am, in a way, hoping that like we've all misdiagnosed and it's like not actually bed bugs. But look, they came through and was like, yeah, that looked like a bed bug to me. So we're gonna see if we can get it all fixed and not have to deal with all the other stuff. But
you about to watch a pick six from Michigan. Got stopped on the 7-yard line.
Yeah, it looks like Michigan's gonna get this thing done 27-13. They just took the ball away from Washington again. 4.5 minutes left in the national championship game. We'll talk more about that in the next hour of the show. And coming up next.
Oh, before you go,
yes.
The 806 is telling all the Tolos, this is what they look like. They're tiny, flat, round bugs. For anybody wondering, go check your beds now.
Yeah. Please do. It's a lot of work. You don't want them. Be diligent.
Take our advice.
While you go check, we're going to pay some bills.
Mm-hmm.
But coming up next, we'll get you your headlines on this Monday evening on The Fan. We'll do that next.
DFW's #1 Cowboys podcast. 1.2.
this hour, then it's time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Replacing those old windows with quality, energy-efficient ones from Window Nation is easier and more affordable than you think. Right now, through the end of the month, replace the windows in your home and pay no interest for 5 years. That's a great deal. And on top of that, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles. Our professional installation means your windows will fit right, so you won't have to worry about leaky, dirty windows and those cold drafts letting out your heat anymore. Don't wait. With 0 interest for 5 years, why not give Window Nation a look? Let us show you all the options to fit your needs and budget. It's easy. Simply call 866-90NATION or visit windownation.com to get started.
This is the exclusive home of Dallas Cowboys football. KRLD FM and HD1, Dallas, Fort Worth. Let's go, Cowboys.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
From our fan studio secured by DFWsecurity.com, it's time for the Get Right on 105.3 The Fan.
Yes, indeed. It is the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Atatula, the 3-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold, Ross Lubinsky on the ones and twos for us. Thank you for rocking with us on this Monday evening. Victory Monday. Your Dallas Cowboys, of course, getting the win. Championship Monday when it comes to the national championship. That's winding down there on in Houston. And, of course, it's a Victory Monday for other reasons. We'll get to that here shortly, here in about 20 minutes. I think we'll try and break down this college football game. But let's start giving you your headlines on this Monday evening now, Ross, as we begin talking about your Dallas Stars getting a much-needed victory in Minnesota against the Wild. 4-0 for your Stars, including a shorthanded goal by Radek Faksa. Goal in the first period by Rope Hinton. In the third period, your boys pile it on, playing well. Matt Murray starts in net for your Dallas Stars. 23 saves on 23 shot attempts. Perfect in his first shutout of his career, 4th career game. And, I mean, this is exactly what you needed if you're the Dallas Stars, considering the way that it had gone. They were on a 3-game losing streak. And so,
first one of the season.
Yeah, man, this was necessary to get this win, break that losing streak, and then also the ways in which they've been allowing a lot, and I do mean a lot of goals lately. It was nice to be able to, not allow any of them. I'm talking about 4 goals, 5 goals, 4 goals. In the last 3 games. Those were the goal totals of the opponents. And so very, very nice to get a win, but in particular, a win where you do not allow any of the pucks to hit the net for the other team.
Very impressive, very nice. And again, the Dallas Stars get their 23rd victory of the season, snapping that 3-game losing streak. They're 23-11-5 right now. And I do believe, I'm looking this up right now, I want to say their next game is going to be against the Wild again, but at the American Airlines Center. I want to double check.
No, you're right. It'll be on Wednesday, 6:30 puck drop at the AAC versus the Wild again. So obviously, quick turnaround at that time of year where they come fast. But hey, man, excited to get a win, and hopefully you'll have an opportunity to make that a 2-game win streak.
Exactly. And speaking of the American Airlines Center, the Dallas Mavericks continue their residency tomorrow night, and there was some breaking news about one of their the players of the opponent coming in tomorrow night.
Yeah. Breaking news on this evening. Shams Charania lets us know maybe an hour ago or so that Ja Morant will be out for the remainder of the season with a torn labrum. He missed the last couple of games with this shoulder injury, but apparently he had season-ending surgery today, and that will take him out for the remainder of the season for the Grizzlies. He'll miss the rest of the season alongside Steven Adams, who didn't get the season started before he was ruled out for the season. Brandon Clark seems to be done for the year. And so this is a team that is badly injured in very many ways and was not very good without their star player. And so the Mavs are almost guaranteed. You shouldn't say that, right? Because anything can happen in the 82-game season.
But like this, the Mavericks have been playing well, and the Grizzlies have not played worth a damn all year long. I feel bad for Marcus Smart, who was traded there from the Celtics when they made their big move to bring in Kristaps Porzingis. Marcus Smart is too good of a player to be stuck in Memphis on a team that ain't going nowhere. And also Desmond Bane, TCU's all-time leading scorer. He's been having a nice season, but I feel bad for him too. I don't feel bad for the Grizzlies, even though I grew up in Memphis. Memphis, by the way, is 13-23. Your Dallas Mavericks who are in 6th place right now, are 22-15 and have won 3 games in a row.
Yeah, and if you need some, framework for just how bad the Grizzlies have been without Ja Morant, over the course of the season, they rank dead last in offensive rating. There's just nowhere that generates offense for them. And now they are losing Ja Morant for the rest of the season. So you imagine against a Mavericks team who's been playing a lot better defensively, 10th in defensive rating over the last 20 games. That's going to be a tough go of it for the Memphis Grizzlies as they come into the AAC tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to show some Marcus Smart love, but the rest of them, y'all got to go.
And so, yes, that is the circumstances when it comes to the Memphis Grizzlies. Tough for the NBA with, a star that they were hoping to get some time. Another star in the NBA seems to have an injury this evening. His name is Tyrese Haliburton.
Oh, boy.
Been incredible
Pacers.
this year. He suffered a left hamstring strain today that could potentially see him miss time ahead of the Indianapolis Pacers or Indiana Pacers. I always go back and forth.
That's where they were.
Indianapolis Colts.
That's where they
were.
were.
Indiana Pacers. But the Pacers are actually hosting the All-Star game in a month. And depending on how long this hamstring strain lasts, he could be, out of the play for actually being on the court. And, whenever a team is hosting the All-Star, it's always great if they have an All-Star in it to kind of be the MC of sorts, to be the center of the attraction. And so Haliburton tried to walk off, but then stopped and eventually was carried off the court to the locker room by a couple of his teammates. So that level of magnitude of injury for Tyrese Haliburton, who suffered a left hamstring strain against the Celtics, that's real. That's another young, talented player that unfortunately going to miss a little bit of time.
And speaking of the NBA, got one more story we got to throw in. Darvin Ham, the head coach of the Lakers, everybody's like, oh, he's going to be the next one to get fired. Vegas has him as the next head coach to get fired in the NBA. Not according to Mark Stein. Stein is reporting in his latest newsletter that, nope, Lakers, they're not in any hurry to make a coaching change. He says, quote, the current signals in circulation suggest that things would have to worsen significantly. And he repeats, significantly, for the 18 and 19 Lakers to truly put Darvin Ham's job under immediate threat. That was the messaging in circulation even before Sunday night's stirring 106-103 victory over the Clippers, despite the crunch time shakiness against their co-tenants, the Clippers. League sources say Ham continues to enjoy a very strong support from Lakers ownership, Jeannie Buss, Vice President of Basketball Operations Rob Pelinka, and especially after the leadership Ham provided in his first season as the frequent voice and face for the franchise, as it spent its first months in sub-500 purgatory before surging into the playoffs with a 9-2 closing kick. Remember, they were a play-in team and then went to the Western Conference Finals, and everybody liked what they were doing. So they're like, no, we like Darvin Ham.
Yeah, man, the Lakers as an organization, they seem to be fairly steadfast in their support until they're not.
Right.
And so, look, man, that vote of confidence is always an interesting thing when people are like, yeah, no, we're still good. We still like you. Watch out. Watch your back, right? Because here they come. Now, this was an interesting thing to see earlier today in the world of golf. Tiger Woods announced that his Nike partnership has ended.
What?
Yeah.
He's been with Nike his whole career.
Absolutely. Over 27 years ago, he said, I was fortunate to start a partnership with one of the most iconic brands in the world. These days, the days since rather, have been filled with so many amazing moments and memories. If I started naming them, I could go on forever. Phil Knight's passion and vision brought this Nike and Nike golf partnership together, and I want to personally thank him along with Nike employees, incredible athletes I have had the pleasure of working with along the way. He continued in that and, continued on in that and said, let me see if I get this quote properly. People will ask if there's another chapter. Yes, there will certainly be another chapter. See you in LA, Tiger. And so with that being the case, it's kind of amazing. You would kind of have imagined that he was on a lifetime deal, the likes of what LeBron James has. I believe Jordan. KD is on a lifetime deal. And, of course, Michael Jordan, you would think that they have not only just
LeBron.
Have him there, but then also have him on in a similar Jordan style where there's the Nike golf line is maybe even dedicated
Jackson,
to
all
him,
that.
right? And we're seeing that deal ultimately is coming to an end.
It's so wild because through his highs and lows, Nike's always been there with him.
Right. Same. I mean, we're seeing that on the Twitch. Boss Lady T says, not just now. I thought that would have been nixed after the Waffle House. No, there's instances where you'd imagine that Nike would have, or other corporations, had a little bit of, trepidation. that was not the case. I wonder how much this ultimately came up to the money of it after a while. Now, the history of this is Nike first signed Tiger to a 5-year, $40 million deal in 96 when he turned pro. And so obviously they figured this out. And then in 2013, he was signed to a 10-year agreement for $200 million. I imagine that they, maybe they did the calculus and figured when that time came around, they'd be able to reevaluate. But now, I wonder if Nike just looks up and says that it's not necessarily worth their while, which sounds crazy to think. And I imagine that, I imagine that we would all look at it and go, there's something beyond just the X's and O's and the dollars and cents of this. Having the legend of Tiger Woods attached to your brand.
I don't understand again because it's not like you could see it if he was having some problems. He ain't having no problems. In fact, everybody's talking about him and his son, Charlie. Charlie's about to do some things. So it was like, just like you said, it seemed like he would have had that, lifetime, partnership with Nike. Because if you think about golf and you think about endorsements, you think about Tiger and his cap, the TW brand, and Nike on the golf balls and the iconic commercials.
The commercials are really the things that you think of.
It's like,
sure.
Wait a minute, this is just crazy to wrap
Seeing
your
him on
mind
18,
around. Yeah,
pumping his fist.
Yeah,
it's kind of incredible. It really is the end of an era, and it feels interesting that we have that type of feeling in golf when it comes to a brand as opposed to like a team. It's this type of thing that we would think about with a longtime player for a team leaving that team. Is how we're kind of feeling with that. So ultimately, again, the news: Nike and Tiger Woods no longer in a partnership.
You mentioned the commercials. Here's a quick little CA story. Anyway, did you know the director of the commercial, the most iconic one where he's tapping the ball with his golf club and then just swings it and hits it, was a former Cowboy linebacker, Jeff Rohrer. And Jeff Rohrer became a TV director. And he came up with the idea for that because while they were shooting a traditional commercial, or, some, just do it commercial, Tiger was killing time. And that's what he was doing while he was waiting for the next shot in the commercial. And he said, wait a minute, let's just do this. And of course, he won all the awards, all the commercial Clio awards and all that. And so there's a Cowboys connection there. Yeah. And of course, Tiger and Tony Romo are really good friends.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I realized that.
Yep, there you go.
From the 972, they said he ain't winning no more, barely making cuts. It's significantly less about that.
It's about his legend.
Yes.
It's about all the things. It's like you make money off of that.
Now, and there is something to be said for the idea that, the money of this, I imagine that they probably would have tried to make this a little bit, leaner because, again, that particular value of being on the tour is not there. But the name recognition of Tiger Woods still looms large over golf. But, it's up to Nike. And honestly, Phil Knight, I imagine there's not any animosity because Phil Knight absolutely loves Tiger.
Yes, and Tiger gave him his props.
They have a very close personal relationship to the point where, like, Phil Knight was, sitting with the Tiger's mom.
Uncle Phil.
At various situations. Like, they are very closely related. And so, it just all feels odd, and maybe it's just a passage of time type of thing, right? You go long enough, and things that you would have imagined never would have come to be end up happening. So there you go. Tiger Woods, Nike no longer in business together. Someone that is still in business together, the NBA and Draymond Green. As we found out earlier today, obviously we do know that Draymond Green was on this suspension after going buck wild on Yusuf Nurkic's head, right? He was put on an indefinite suspension, told to talk to a therapist.
It's called get your head right suspension.
Right.
Get your head right therapy.
Yeah. So Adam Silver in the NBA had him on a suspension that was indefinite, had him in theory talking, going and talking to a therapist and trying to get himself together. And during this time, Draymond Green ultimately let us know on his Draymond Green Show podcast that he considered retiring from the NBA. He said, quote, I told him, Adam, this is too much for me. It's all becoming too much for me, and I'm going to retire. And apparently, Draymond Green said to Adam, you're making a very rash decision, and I won't let you do that. So basically, Draymond Green, in the midst of a suspension brought on by his own kind of reckless action, felt like now it was too much for him, and he considered retirement through this. How did you hear this?
I hear it the way when you just say it right now. I started thinking this. Charles Barkley was right because Barkley was, when everybody was just trying to figure out what's wrong with him, Charles Barkley said, I went through the same thing at the end of my career when I was trying to fight through my days with the Rockets, Houston Rockets. He was ended his career with the Rockets. He's like, I couldn't do the things I used to do, and I was just taking it out on people. I was taking it out on other teams, players. I was taking it out on my own teammates. I was just acting up. He said, because when you can't do what you used to do and you have no chance of winning the championship, if you a competitor like that, sometimes you just do it the wrong way. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's what Barkley's diagnosis was. And if Draymond said he was thinking about retiring, that must be it.
I also wonder, this makes me think that Draymond Green and the entirety of this, like the framework of the suspension, is flawed. Because Draymond Green, in order to get something from some level of therapy, you have to acknowledge the issue. And I don't think that he's done that, right? Because, there's a level of me kind of doing some analysis here. And so there's no guarantee that I'm right. I'm not in his head, right? So I want to put that disclaimer there. But it seems like he is operating from a place where he's not taking personal responsibility, right?
And so, in other words, run away from it and quitting?
Not even the running away from and quitting.
Or not even admitting that he's... Because he hadn't apologized yet that you know of. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's in a way, yes. It seems like he's able to externalize whenever these fits of violence happen. Well, something happened. Or like, remember when he stomped on, who did he stomp on again? My goodness. I done forgotten.
The Sacramento Kings.
Yes. And it's like, well, but he grabbed my foot. It's like, okay, but that's that portion. What's your portion of it? And it seems like he never accepts his portion of it. And so for him, in my estimation,
for him to some remorse,
in a way,
contrition,
but still just like an acknowledgement that it is you're doing is in this.
Your responsibility.
You cannot make this better if it is not acknowledging your portion of this. And you flailing, I was trying to sell the call. Okay, that's one thing. You hit that man upside his head in a very violent fashion. And if you're not willing to take that and ultimately you get a suspension and you go, this is all too much, I'm going to retire. It feels like you are not saying this is my responsibility and I need to get better. It's more I'm being persecuted almost is the way that I hear it and I read it. And so that's the thing I'm concerned about is if Draymond Green does not really take responsibility, then the idea of, well, we're going to put him in therapy and once he's done a certain amount of therapy, we'll bring him back. The whole framework of that rehabilitation doesn't work. And then you are just having a regular suspension that you probably should be able to set a proper amount of dates on according to the regular punishments that you have elsewhere.
I love the way you're saying, because you're exactly right. And it made me just think right now, you know how some people are trying to compare Draymond's suspension and Ja Morant's suspension, and people were conveniently forgetting that Ja Morant's longer suspension was his second suspension, because after his first one, of course, you're supposed to show this contrition and all that. And when Ja Morant came back, remember, it sounded like he was reading the script. And it was like, he's saying he's apologizing, but does he really? Because he's saying all the right things, but he's saying it just like he's saying it like he's reading a script. The one-on-one interview he had, it was like, what? And then, of course, he acted out again, which is why he got the longer suspension. So with Draymond, I'm looking for, just like you just said, the sincerity of, do you realize this is you that's causing this? It's kind of like what Bill Parcells said, if it keeps happening over and over again, it's you.
Yeah.
It's not, you keep saying it's my boys, it's my guy. If it's got to be you. If it keeps happening to you all the time, it is you.
Yeah. And so, look, it also harkens back, and this is an entire different conversation, the idea of the indefinite suspension is, in a way, the league taking more power.
Yeah.
Because these things are all collectively bargained when it comes to suspensions and those things and the amount of power that you allow the league to have in discipline. And indefinite suspensions are not something that a league would want, or that a union would want, because that gives indefinite power to.
But notice they
Adam Silver.
Acquiesced.
And they did, because it's all within the concept of like rehabilitation. But the thing I'm talking about is if he's not investing in the rehabilitation, it's just punishment indefinitely. And that just means Adam Silver can unilaterally decide, I'm gonna hold you out of playing basketball for a long period of time without checks.
But nobody can defend that, because he has all the priors, and the priors are on tape. And here's the other part.
That's why, as a union, you have to fight any indefinite suspension.
Here's the other part about the union. You got to understand, in this particular moment of time, they're both together. The union and the league are trying to have a $75 billion streaming television rights deal.
Sure.
And that's why they're trying to manage the body load management stuff. They're trying to make sure everything falls into place, because, again, the NBA is a better partnership with their players union than baseball, which is adversarial, the NFL, which you have the owners thinking they're the players and employees as opposed to a partnership.
Sure.
So that's why the quote unquote players union is like, Draymond, you're gonna mess up the money for everybody because you're acting out.
Yeah, but this is the thing is, for right now,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying this is what's going on.
But what I'm saying is, in this instance, you're like, okay, this instance, it feels like we want to let them use that unilateral power. But the problem is, when you give that power, you create a precedent. And then when you don't want them to have that power, they can point back to well, you were cool with it this other time. And I think that as a union, that's where you allowed yourself to get down a slippery slope on this.
True
but
facts.
Hey, look, man, it's where it is. And Draymond Green already ramping back to return. So we'll see if he's able to control himself going forward. But yeah, those are some of your headlines.
Can I give you one more headline? I know we're running along, but
go ahead.
And we will dive deep into this college football playoff. But this afternoon, some of the experts at CBS Sports, they ran through the community because you can do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's all formulaic. You know which divisions you're going to play. So we all know the teams that they'll play. Ultimately, when the schedule's released, we'll see what dates they are.
But you don't know who's home and who's away. And I got this right here for those who have been keeping up. And we're talking in code because we haven't said it's the Cowboys. Right now, it's a Victory Monday. Everybody's excited about the Cowboys playoffs. But a lot of people are wondering who are they going to play next season. And here is the home schedule and the away schedule, but not the dates. The Cowboys will play at home, of course, the division rivals, the Giants, Eagles, and Commanders. But they will also host the Saints, the Buccaneers. The Lions will be back. You also have Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, Joe Burrow and the Bengals, C.J. Stroud and the Texans. The away games will be, of course, the division rivals, the Giants, Eagles, and Commanders. But they will also go to Atlanta. They will also go to Charlotte again to play the Panthers. They will take on the Browns in Cleveland, the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and go back to the Bay to beat the 49ers. And now you know.
Look at you calling your shot. So those are the situations or the games that you can expect for your Dallas Cowboys next season. We'll find out in what order, what those situations when that schedule releases. But hey, man, it's the NFL. Even the schedule is interesting to folks. So get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Those are your headlines on this evening. -1, the big headline as it was the college football national championship game. Michigan Wolverines national champions, 34-13 was the final. We'll break this down, talk about some of the things that we saw as we were paying attention to this game. We'll do it next on The Fan.
Blasting out 100,000 watts of FM sports talk power and streaming 24.
$199 or more on all major appliances. Hurry, these deals are too good to last long. Shop in-store or online today because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid 1/4 through 1/24. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See Lowe's.com for details.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together millions of things for our planet. This new year, make some resolutions that will improve the environment. Resolve to use less gas in your car. You can carpool to work a couple of days a week. Use public transportation like buses or trains. Combine errands to make fewer trips. And take a walk for any distances of a mile or less. And think about an electric car when looking for your next vehicle. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Get right here on 105.3 The Fan. Reginald Atatula here with you alongside the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold.
Got you down.
Ross Lebinsky's on the ones and twos. Thank you for rocking with us on this Cowboys Victory Monday here on The Fan. You can always get involved with the program by texting into the truckwreck.com text line, 877-881-1053. Or you can catch us on twitch.tv/DallasFanCam. We're searching 105 through The Fan on YouTube. Guys, national championship down in Houston. We have a new national champion, and they are the Michigan Wolverines. 34-13 is the final score in favor of the champion Michigan Wolverines. And CA, this game very early on, Michigan showed what we knew that they were capable of, and Washington showed that they were not going to have very many answers for that, because you saw Blake Corum, you saw Donovan Edwards both break off huge runs. Both of them, actually, the long for Blake Corum was a 59-yarder. The long for Donovan Edwards was a 46-yarder. You saw Michigan early on get chunk plays through the run, which is something that you knew they were capable of. And when they did that early, it was very evident. Oh yeah, this is something that they are going to have success with.
Yeah, going into the game, they were talking about this on G-Bag. Willie Bully, Zach Wolchuk was saying, I like Washington, but Michigan's got a running game, and Washington cannot handle a running game. Washington is like in the hundreds, like 106 out of 128. It's just one of the worst run defenses in all of college football, and so Michigan played to their strength. It's like, this is running down the throat. You mentioned Corum, he had 134 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Edwards had 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's what they did, and even though it was kind of close at the start of the third quarter, they couldn't handle that.
Yeah, one of the things that was very evident for me is, again, I viewed this as a styles makes fights type thing, right? Washington on offense, very pass heavy, really good wide receivers. They were going to throw the ball, and they have an opportunity of getting chunk plays that way. Michigan is going to run the football, and so if they can break those, they're cool. But if they end up in a situation where they're going to have to lean on throwing the ball, that's not what they do. They don't necessarily have that in their bag. So if Washington was able to do what they do, getting up and down the field, getting the score, they'd be able to put Michigan in a bad place. On the other side, Michigan's defense is very good, and they have a secondary that's better than Texas. What you saw last game in the Sugar Bowl for Washington. And what happened was, you also saw them get after the quarterback in a way that Texas simply did not. Ross, we were talking about this earlier. Texas has the defensive tackles in Sweat and Murphy, but they do not have the pass rush. Michigan did, and early on, you could see them somewhat shake and rattle Michael Penix's confidence. In fact, the interception that he got at the half, he double clutched. Yeah, we talk about that a lot with Dak Prescott at certain points. He double clutched, and you could see the ways in which he was having a hard time getting the ball out to his wide receivers. On top of those wide receivers, not necessarily getting as open as you want them to.
Yeah, Penix Jr. had 255 yards passing, 1 touchdown, but those 2 picks. I mean, those are drive killers, and you got to be perfect against them. And the receivers he throws to, those world-class receivers, none of them had 100 yards. Adunis had 87.
Rome Odunze?
Odunze, yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, 87 yards. But beyond that, Jack Westover had 42. He's not even one of the guys you talk about. The Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, 37 and 33 yards respectively. And ultimately, like, one of the things you also saw was a lot of drops from Washington receivers. So even in the instances where Michael Penix maybe got the ball out to his wide receivers at the right time, was able to navigate the pass rush and get the ball out to his receivers, they were dropping the football in inopportune times. And so, man, the Washington could not afford none of that, hardly at all, right? Washington could not afford to not take advantage of the opportunities that they had. And then on top of that, I was impressed at one point, though. Washington, like I said, big run plays that were not run fitting very well. And I mean, early on, that was Michigan doing very basic run plays, talking about duo and getting downfield and power. And they were just getting big chunks that way. However, Washington was able to normalize that in the middle of the game and able to kind of get some stops. There was an instance where going back and forth, they were just stopping and punting back and forth. And then late in the game, you saw Michigan then open up and go, all right, well, we can get creative in the run game. Jerome Moore started calling some things that gave Washington some fits again, and that's when the game was able to be opened up towards the back end of this. And then Washington was just left to go. And, I mean, Michigan had done this all year. And defensively, this was not going to be a problem. But offensively, I thought this was the best offense that they faced, and they handled the challenge exquisitely. Michigan deserves all the credit in the world. As much as, people will do the cheating thing or whatever, they showed themselves to be a very, very good offensive team and defensive team.
The defense was great. I mean, again, the offense was good. The defense was great. They won the Big Ten. They beat Ohio State, which had never lost a game all season long. They went through the semifinals, won it this time, made it to the championship, beat Alabama, and then stopped Washington's 21-game winning streak, which was the longest streak in the nation Georgia had the longest until Georgia lost to Alabama. So nobody can say they slid in, and Harbaugh's going to get his money because he's got a new contract. I think there's a clause in there where they want to try to keep him out of the NFL.
Yeah, but he ain't signed it.
He ain't signed. I'm distracted because I'm looking over your head and I'm looking at all the festivities over there. And then I also put in a call to the Dutch oven. Derrick Holland, of course, a huge Michigan fan, a part of, I'm not going to call him a whole part of the KNC Masterpiece, but he's a regular on the KNC Masterpiece. We found him. I put the text in. He said, give me a call. We got him. Dutch, are you there?
Talk your talk, man.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me all right?
We can hear you, man. How's it feel, man? You got your wish.
Man, it's an emotional roller coaster. This is unbelievable. I got to watch the Texas Rangers win the World Series. I got to see some greatness with them taking it away from Houston. I come down to Houston, and I watch Michigan take care of business in Houston. Are you kidding me? How about them apples? Let's go with that. Michigan is national champion in the city of Houston. I got to see two great things take place in Houston.
Let's go. Rangers.
Derrick, you've listened to this program very much. We always appreciate you doing that. But on this program, you've heard me, be a little bit doubtful of your Michigan Wolverines. And I want to give you this space to talk your talk. I want you to tell me, why did this game go the way that it did?
Man, hey, I just want to say one thing. I know you said that. I appreciate that. The beers are flowing. I just got to say that. So with that being said,
thanks for the disclaimer.
Stop this running game. This running game was unbelievable. Washington, they don't know what defense is. It's just like the Big 12, the Pac-12. They don't know what defense is. We showed them what Big 10 football is, just like we get to the SEC. You got to see some serious running, two-headed monster with Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum. They'll be future Cowboys, just throwing that out there. But those two right there took care of business. That was what it was all about. Controlling that running game, they couldn't do it. Michigan took care of business. And you know what, Reggie? I know you got some Michigan love deep down inside of you, and I appreciate that.
Go Blue, I've often said
pull it
this.
out from you.
I've often said this.
Hey, Dutch Oven, we're talking to Derrick Holland, former Rangers pitching great, and he's in his joy because the Rangers won earlier this season, rather. And here's Michigan pulling it off. I want to know about the party and the celebration. I'm looking at the confetti on TV. You're still in the stadium. I know you got a crew with you. What's the atmosphere like, and what you guys doing next? You gonna be honking some horns, gonna hit some bars? You gonna try to drive on back to Dallas?
Man, I can tell you one thing. This night is not over.
Yeah.
It's gonna continue for a while, that's for sure. I gotta watch what I say because I know we're on the radio.
That's right.
But with that being said, we are going to have a blast. Michigan's gonna go and celebrate with the family, friends, and everybody. But on top of that, man, this is unbelievable. And now it's time to go into the NFL playoffs, so hopefully we get to see a Browns Cowboys Super Bowl. And, man, will my year be complete? Are you kidding me?
You living the dream, man. You're living the dream.
Far be it from me to poo-poo.
Hey, think about this. Flacco around and find out. That's what we got to stay with the Cleveland Browns. La Flacco Blanco is taking care of business. But you know what? The Cowboys look good going into this. That's the thing. It's all about catching momentum at the end. That's why I feel like the Cowboys are destined to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to see some greatness from them. It all starts now with the playoffs. One game at a time, baby.
I'll let you have that one. But I want to let you be able to go and celebrate this big national championship for Michigan. It doesn't happen all the time for a lot of programs. Is there anything else that you want to say real quick before we let you go?
Man, no, all I want to say is I love the fan base here in Texas. I can't wait to come back home, celebrate with you guys, pull for the Cowboys, but also pull for the Browns. We got playoff football in the state of in the state of Texas. Sorry, in the city of Dallas. Who cares about Houston? Because Browns are going to take care of business down there.
Hey, by the way,
we got the real football team.
Hey, Dutch, the Tolos are living through you. You know the Tolos have been living through you forever, and you know you're invited tomorrow night downstairs in the showroom. We're going to have the Hot Stove Show. The World Series trophy will be there. If you make it and you can stand up, you know Jared Sanders would love to see you. A couple of Rangers will be there as well. And again, honk your horn while you're down there in Houston. You earned it, man. Go Blue.
Well, I'm going to just tell you right now, you probably ain't going to see me because the drinks are flowing here. Let me just say that. It's time to have a good time and celebrate. Michigan just won the Natty last time since '97. Let's go Blue, baby.
There you go.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks for popping on, man.
That's Derek Holland, Michigan alum, Texas Rangers, great, and friend of 105 Through the Fan.
That's right. He's a part-time host on 105 Through the Fan with the official baseball show of record, the KNC Masterpiece.
There you go. It's the Get Right here on 105 Through the Fan. Again, the Michigan Wolverines, 34-13 victors over Washington Huskies in NRG Stadium, and they win the 2023 National Championship in college football. Coming up next, we'll do the final call. Right.
Coming up Tuesday morning on Sean and RJ, we celebrate the NFC East Championship with Jerry Jones live at 8:30, plus the National Championship in college football. It's a Tolo Tuesday on the Fan.
proud Tolo. Call us today for your free garage door repair estimate. 469-909-0956 or visit TolbertGarageDoor.com.
Hello, I'm Jamie Flores, the managing partner at the law offices of Nick Namath, with another important tax fact. Taxpayers have the right to retain an attorney to deal with the IRS.
Hi, I'm Dallas tax attorney Nick Namath. If you've received a letter from the IRS, you have the right to choose an experienced tax lawyer to handle your settlement case. For over 20 years, I've helped thousands of clients reach affordable resolutions with the IRS.
Call Nick Namath, the DFW tax attorney, at 972-484-0829 or visit myiRSteam.com.
The Friday football feast has moved into postseason mode as Friday will be live at Buffalo Wild Wings in Frisco, 3211 Preston Road.
And we have tickets courtesy of Miller Lite for Cowboys Packers in the playoffs. The fun starts at 10, goes all the way to 2 on the KNC Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan.
And it's back to the Get Right here on 105.3 The Fan. The upcoming segment is brought to you by Classic Chevrolet. Why do so many Texans love Classic Chevrolet and Grapevine? They've got the goods. More new Silverados than anyone with incredible savings. Why go anywhere else? Go see them today or visit ClassicChevrolet.com. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Find new roads, relax, and enjoy the difference.
So Get right here on 105 through the Fan. Reginald Atatula, long-time, the three-time Hall of Famer. Chris Arnold. Ross Lubinsky on the ones and twos. One final time on this Victory Monday from right here on your home of the Cowboys and World Series champion Texas Rangers. 105.3 The Fan. It's the final call here on the Get Right, and we begin by reminding you your Dallas Stars get a big win to break a 3-game losing streak in Minnesota. Well, the losing streak is just over the course of the season, but they get the win in Minnesota against the Wild 4-0 with Matt Murray between the pipes. 23 saves on this one.
Not bad for the guy called up.
100% save percentage to get your Stars a win in his first career shutout. Much needed shutout after being given up a combined, 13 goals in the last 3 games. So it was nice to kind of break that. No goals given up and a big win to bring you back home. You'll play the Wild again on Wednesday, but man, big time things from the dude called up from the AHL.
Exactly. You don't have to rush out or back, and you can rest up Wedgwood. So you're pretty good in goal if he can hold it down just a little bit longer. And at the same time, no Miro, and they still had a lot of goals. No Miro.
Yeah, no Miro. Heiskanen obviously still dealing with that lower body injury. So we'll see. We'll see how they do come Wednesday. But again, back in the winning ways, back in the win column for your Dallas Stars. We were just talking about it. The Michigan Wolverines win the college football playoff national championship game 34-13 against the Washington Huskies. This means a few things. Michigan first national championship since 1997. It's also means that we still, in the college football playoff era, will not have a team we will not have a team not outfitted by a Nike brand.
Is that right?
To win, yes. Washington was the first non-Nike outfitted brand to play in the college football playoff, and they, of course, lose here, so we're still waiting on Adidas or Under Armour to be able to show up in this thing. As of right now, Nike running this thing.
Yeah, I thought about that earlier. I was like, wait, when was the last time a team that had Adidas apparel even appeared in it? And I guess the closest thing would have been the last time UW made it, but that was the semifinal, not the Natty. So
I'm trying to think. Didn't Michigan not just Nike? Wasn't it Jordan?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they had
they're outfitted by Jordan, but Jordan's a Nike.
Yeah, well, of course.
Property.
I always thought it was funny because their football team and they got a basketball player on their jersey.
Yeah, it's them. Your school, Oklahoma, with those. So interesting in that regard. I guess
real quick, would it be the U when they lost to Ohio State? If they were even wearing Adidas back then, maybe it was Russell brand or. Anyways,
I don't think they were wearing Adidas at that point. Well, we'll go back and look. We got Googles for that purpose. So hey, maybe not exactly for that purpose, but we can always utilize those things to get to where we want. Right.
We can F around and find out.
That's right. I did want to make note of something that you mentioned in the last segment, which is that tomorrow evening at the Odyssey Performance Showroom, Jared Sandler and Rangers Hot Stove, first one of the season or the off season. We're that close. We're getting ever closer to pitchers and catchers reporting next month. Or is it next month?
Yeah, February.
Good God, man. It's happened quickly.
It's blur, man.
And
It's
so
already January the 8th. It'll be the 9th in about an hour.
Jared Sandler, Josh Boers, Josh H. Smith will all be here, I believe, from 6 to 8 p.m. So you want to come out to our Dallas location, 75 and Fitzhugh in Dallas, to be able to see those guys and
the trophy.
There you go, the World Series trophy. Hey. All will be here for Rangers Hot Stove, the first of those.
Have you had
tomorrow.
a chance to see it yet?
Yes, I did, because obviously I was at Jared Sandler's Swinging for a Cause charity event, and there the trophy was as well at Globe Life Field on the field. So this will be another opportunity to see it live and in person. And I've obviously, man, take these things, these opportunities.
That's right.
And grab onto them,
man. Bring your phones and take some pictures, some selfies with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are just like, well, they'll win again next year. Yeah, but you can never be so sure. Make sure, and you know what? Nothing like time like right now. No time like today. So hopefully you get an opportunity to show up and see that trophy.
We got some Tolos texting in that said the U were Nike. They did the research.
Yep, I went ahead and looked it up as well. So Miami, just as you said, was wearing Nike back in 2002. Tennessee, who was going to be my follow-up guest, they were wearing Nike when they won it all the year after Peyton Manning graduated. So you have to go back to the Nebraska Cornhuskers under Tom Osborne.
Oh, the 20th century.
Tom Osborne.
Nobody this century, 21st century, they've all worn Nike. Tom Osborne, and that was way back in the 90s.
Yeah, I was about to say, is that 95?
Something like that. It was way back when.
There you go.
Scott Frost was the quarterback, 98 maybe, 97. Scott Frost, who went to coach UCF, and they went undefeated and thought they were the national champions because just like Florida State this year. I just bring that up because it's like Florida State, same school. Same state. And then he gets hired away to go back to Nebraska to deliver a championship that he was the quarterback for. Couldn't do it. They fired his ass.
Yeah.
You know who's up in Nebraska now?
It is Matt Rule.
There you go. Ding, 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 ding.
Former
Baylor
Temple, Baylor, and Carolina Panthers head coach. So with that being the case, I guess shout out to Michigan once more in college football. Some interesting news that I guess is developing on this Monday evening per Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News. He tweeted this about 20 minutes ago. The Commanders, Washington Commanders, Carolina Panthers, and Los Angeles Chargers have all requested permission to speak with Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's according to multiple people with that are close to the situation that are confirmed to the Dallas Morning News. He went further to say, with Dan Quinn in the playoffs and with the Cowboys, he can do a virtual interview for head coaching jobs, but once divisional rounds are over, then he can actually meet in person. So we're on this train again of Dan Quinn being not only, desired, but being actively recruited to maybe go run his own operation at one of these other NFL teams.
Okay, I've got to go back to this Easter egg that's in David Moore's column about Dan Quinn might get hired away. He mentioned that Dan Quinn and his wife have a home in Hawaii in the offseason. That's where they stay. We had a Tolo about a month ago saying LA's closer than Dallas. And, LA's got the Chargers. And they mentioned that, of course, he worked with Kellen Moore. A light bulb just went over my head when you were talking about the Zoom interviews and the fact that you can interview during the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who coached up Kellen Moore on how to interview for head coaching jobs? Dan Quinn. I'm just saying, don't get me wrong. I'm not assuming he's going to the Chargers. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying that guess who was trying to help Kellen Moore out? And again, Dan Quinn can get whoever he wants to be his offensive coordinator. He hired Kyle Shanahan when he was in Atlanta. He knows a lot of people. He got a Rolodex. He got a phone. It's full of phone numbers. He got connections. But if he were to leave and he were to wind up with the Chargers, well, guess what? You go, now it kind of added up.
Yeah.
I'm not assuming that, though.
It's a possibility. But, I mean, obviously, Dan Quinn has been desired in multiple situations over the last few seasons, and I think that he is the type of candidate that could probably choose his destination for the most part.
I know
if he does indeed want to leave and Jerry Jones does not money with him to remain with the Cowboys one more time.
I know an interesting part of the scenario of does he stay with the Dallas Cowboys. I think when he was money whipped, Jerry was covering his ass in case he needed to fire Mike McCarthy. I think after this season, the way the offense has performed with McCarthy calling his own plays and Dak has got a new voice in his ear. It would take a miracle for McCarthy to get fired, and therefore, why would Dan Quinn even take, if he had the perfect situation fall in his lap? He ain't going to Carolina. But if there was a situation where it's like, this might be my last chance to be a head coach, but it's exactly the way I want it, because Mike McCarthy ain't going nowhere. Mike McCarthy was a Stephen and Will McClay hire. And then Jerry warmed up to him because he always liked Garrett. Remember, Garrett didn't even believe he was fired. He was still in the building. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCarthy and Jerry are tight now. He like it. Let's see what happens.
Well, elsewhere, or actually, let's go back to college football as we crown a national champion, and betting don't stop. Immediately, there are odds out for the next national champion, and you will be not surprised one bit.
Georgia
is
Gotta
the
be.
odds-on leader according to ESPN Bet. 17-4 or 17-4 odds. Alabama, second best odds. Ohio State, third best odds. And Michigan comes in at fourth best odds with the opportunity to repeat. Texas, top 5 in the odds betting. Some level of belief in Sarkisian. What about you, Ross? Because I know that's your guy. Thank you. That is the completion. That is the complete analysis from Ross Lubinsky.
Ross said it now in the SEC.
Thank you very much for that analysis.
Georgia and Alabama
of your Texas Longhorns. One
like
more
you
time.
go
Can you
to Big
repeat that
12.
analysis for me? Very good. Thank you very much,
Are
sir.
we talking about the same Texas?
We are talking about Steve Sarkisian's Texas Longhorns without Adonai Mitchell, who has announced that he will be going to the NFL draft.
And Xavier Worthy and the 2 leading running backs. And
a SEC schedule where you have to beat Georgia or Alabama to get to the championship.
I know me and Carter talk about that all the time because, as we all know, Carter Freeman is a huge Sooner. So both he and our teams are going over there. And we're both like, hey, you no longer have like Iowa State as your down game, quote unquote down game. Now
you just have Arkansas and Vanderbilt and South Carolina. Anyways, that's the Get Right for this Monday evening here on 105 Through the Fan. We appreciate you rocking with us. Tune in tomorrow, 5:30 a.m. for Sean and RJ. But until we see you tomorrow, y'all be easy. Peace.
Welcoming new listeners to our clubhouse with open arms.
I don't know what to say.
Thanks for listening all day to 105.3 The Fan and through our